It's 5 p.m. and I call this administrative meeting of the Plan Commission, the Monroe County Plan Commission, to order. The purpose of this meeting is to go over the public feedback that we've received throughout the CDO process. And if you would be so kind, Jackie, please call the roll.
Sure. Margaret Clements.
Here.
Tronan Wright Randolph.
Here.
Scott Barris.
Here.
Jeff Morris.
Here.
Cheryl Munson. Edward Ullman. Dee Owens.
Online. She is. We just can't hear her.
We can't hear Dee yet.
Okay. If tech services can unmute Dee Owens, and also if Lee Jones is online as well. Jerry Pittsford. Julie Thomas.
Here.
And then our city representative, Chris Cockrum, I don't think is able to make it. And then I'll just go ahead and call the roll for the commissioners as well. Penny Githens.
Here.
And Lee Jones.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Okay, so I will note that I see Dee Owens online, and for the record, I will go ahead and count her. Dee, we're having a little bit of an issue. I don't know if you're able to hear the tech services person. We're having an issue hearing you, but it comes up in the transcript, so we will read what you say if that works for you, and hopefully we'll get it figured out before we make any votes.
Okay.
So we do have
Okay.
5 members in person and a quorum of the Plan Commission, and then we also have a quorum of the commissioners.
Well, I'd like to thank all of the members of the public and the organizations that have put good thought and good feedback into this CDO review. It does represent a major change after many years of operating in a certain way. And so that the community is invested in the outcome of our deliberations is a good thing, because together we grow more wisely. And I'd like to also thank the Planning Department for managing us through this very complex process. You've done it robustly, you've done it with integrity, and you've managed a huge amount of data concerning each parcel under our purview, and we can't thank you enough for your stewardship of all of us throughout this process. So thank you. Now, I would like to make a comment to the public who has tuned in online and who are here in public, that there will be no public comment. As you are aware, we've received a lot of feedback over the course of, the inception of our review of the county development ordinance, which has been several years now. And this is our working session so that we can collaborate on what we find consensus on as far as implementing the request into our new development ordinance. So there will be no public comment tonight. With that in mind, I'd like to also say that the staff has put together a very organized, a very well-organized, line-by-line, property-by-property, and neighborhood-by-neighborhood review of the comments. And we would like to proceed in an orderly fashion so that we can get through as much material as possible, as quickly as possible. We've reserved other evenings for deliberation if we're not able to get through them tonight. We are going to be meeting on Friday afternoon. We've scheduled a time from 1 to 3:30, is it? Yes, and then we're also have a time on October 29th from 1:30 to 5 p.m. reserved, and we also have time on November 1st reserved if we have to extend our meeting time. But I do hope that we can be efficient in our reviews and in our comments, and I'm going to turn now over to staff so they can help guide us through what they've compiled for us.
Sure. Thank you, Margaret. So just as you were stating, so we've taken all of the public comment, the testimony during the CDO hearings, the written testimony that we've received, and we've compiled it in 3 different formats for the Plan Commission review. Item number 1 is what we anticipate getting to tonight, but if we have time, we can start getting into item number 2. So the first item for review is going to be the draft CDO zoning map comments and requests. Tammy's going to take us through the different requests that we've had from the public regarding different zoning map changes in the county. The second item is the comments regarding the text of the CDO. So several people had comments on the text and would like to see changes. The third item is taken from all of the aforementioned avenues of taking public feedback, and we've answered a lot of those questions on the monroecdo.com website. So if you go to the monroecdo.com website, you'll actually see as of today there's a question and answers by staff. We received a lot of comments that we wanted to make sure were based in the factuality of the CDO itself, and also address large comments that were coming in from phone calls and during the hearings to make sure that if we get repeat questions, we're able to answer those efficiently. So we would like, just to how to conduct tonight's hearing or tonight's meeting work session, we would like to have a majority vote of the Plan Commission. And so we're going to be asking you a common question, which is, would you like to vote to make the changes based on the public comment with a majority vote? Would you like to not see changes be made based on public comment? Or would you like staff to do more research and give us some direction on how you would like us to do more research on a certain topic? As you stated, Margaret, we do have other meetings reserved. So we have tonight, the 25th from 1 to 3:45 in this room, October 29th, 1:30 to 5 in this room, and then if needed, Friday, November 1st from 1 to 3:45 in this room. We did allocate, assuming, the end time for tonight is approximately 8 p.m. We can always go later, but we just made an estimate that we'd have about 12 working hours allocated and scheduled. We have 202 zoning map requests, which is in addition to all the ORC and Plan Commission votes that we've made earlier this year, and 82 text comments. So if we spend approximately 5 minutes on each item, that would take us 23 and a half hours to get through everything. So I do want to just mention that we will try to take some things in bulk that we can and try to move on if we get stuck on something. We'll help. We're also going to have tech services run a timer going up, so then we can often look at it and say, okay, we've spent 8 minutes on this topic. Would you like to move on or keep discussing it? So that will just keep us honest through the process. And so just to reiterate, so Margaret is going to help facilitate the meeting. We may interject at times to see if there's a possibility of a motion or to continue it for research. And then since it's an administrative meeting, I think it would be helpful if we just do a raise of hands for any vote. We won't require a vote yet from the commissioners, except for Julie, who sits on both the Plan Commission and the commissioners. And we will need a 5-member vote yes to get a majority vote to move on. And so just reminder everyone, I think we do a good job, but please, as always, keep your comments respectful and to the point to the extent possible. So that's all I had. I will turn it over to Tammy, and we're going to tag team this and just let us know if we have questions throughout. This is a work session, so we hope to be a little bit informal and just help everyone understand the topic and get through it as easily as possible.
Okay, hopefully you can hear me. Is this okay? I'm going to be pulling up maps on the fly here, and mostly...
Can you make sure that we have that on our screen here? Because right now the screen here
Oh,
is,
let me share screen. I think that's what I need to do.
But this screen is never quite
The same as
the
the
same.
others.
Yeah.
So I will directly sign in. I had to do it through the browser. Okay.
Perfect.
Great.
Thank you.
All right. I almost need 3 screens over here, not 2. Okay, so we're looking at the CDO map. And I'm going to be alternating between the CDO map and also the Beacon, which is the GIS site that's going to be replacing Elevate, which goes live tomorrow. So this is the CDO map. The first request, I don't think, Jackie, we discussed, do I need to say the name of the person, or is it better to just say the address and then move on to their comment?
Start with the address.
Okay, so it's 5072 North Union Valley Road. And their request is, they're currently zoned CD, and they would like to be converted to AGR, Ag. Their comment is, our property is currently zoned as Ag RR, and the new draft zoning would change it to Community Development Residential. This is a larger rural lot with a barn, pasture area. It's greater than 5 areas in size and backs to other rural forested property. The mobile home currently residing there is being removed by the end of the month, and our intention for the property is for farming. We request that this property keep as the ag zoning classification. And so, yeah, I did confirm that this was about a 5.28 acre lot. It's kind of adjacent to the Ellettsville jurisdiction.
Okay, great.
Can I
Yes.
Do we need her to read the information because it's already in the packet?
So,
There might be a few things I highlight, and I did do some confirming, so I would rather not read the whole comment. If you guys can follow along, that's great.
that'll save us time because you put so much good detail in our packet.
So
Yeah.
I'll mostly then just do the draft zone, the requested zone, and then any staff notes that I
Yes.
came up with as a result of their comment.
Yes, and then I'll just check to see if their comments, I'm going to start comments right on the outside on the way in, left on the outside in, and then from the inside out, and then the inside out. So we'll change it up a little bit. So if there are any comments from my right, Mr. Enright Randolph?
Just, not necessarily to this, just kind of to the chart. There's a column that says needs review and a Y for yes. So could you elaborate what that means?
Sure. When we were going through all of the data, it was a way for us to sort out all of the comments. Some things people were satisfied or strongly satisfied or neutral with what they commented on or what it was. Some things were a comment. Some things we had already dealt with the Plan Commission in previous admin sessions prior to June 2nd. So those obviously didn't need to come back here. So it was just more of a staff column that we didn't scrub before we published.
Totally understand.
Okay.
We're just tracking the progress of the review. I just wanted to make sure that I was clear on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments on my right, on my left, from the outside in? If not, shall we take a vote on whether or not we accept this recommendation?
I'm just going to say, in principle, if somebody has a draft zone that's denser than their use or their requested zone, I'm going with the less dense use.
Yes.
And there are a number of them in here, so.
So shall we vote then? We should have an item-by-item vote, and the vote on this is 5027 North Union Valley Road, and that is to change the current CD zone to the requested zone, which is agricultural, for 5.28 acres.
We're just going to do a show of hands?
Please show your hands.
Raise your hand if you
If
would
you're
like
in
to see
favor.
it zoned to AGR.
1, 2,
We have D.
Dee's raising her hand.
That's,
Is that your hand? Okay,
1.
thank you. So we've got 6-0 on that.
What do we have?
It was 6-0 on
Okay.
that.
Okay, so the next item is 6675 East Gross Road. and this, goes-
Actually, I moved one.
Oh, yes?
Yeah, it's just up the road. I apologize. I
that's
think this
okay.
is the only one I shifted from the packet.
Oh, yes. Let the record reflect that Mr. Pittsford has arrived. And so
Sorry, I'm late. I can leave early to make up for it if I need to.
it's good to see you. It's good to see you.
Does that math work?
But we were talking about the procedures for tonight. We're not going to have staff review all of the detailed comments they put into our packet. We're just going to review any questions that the commissioners may have of staff. And we're going to try to move through this item by item so that we can help facilitate this kind of grueling process. So yes, Ms. Behrman.
Sure, so this is one that I shifted because it's just two parcels to the north.
Great.
It's 5083 North
Yeah.
Union Valley Road. It has the exact same scenario where they are drafted as CD. They are requesting Ag-RR. The lot size is 3.8 acres.
Okay, any need for discussion, anyone? All those in favor, raise your hand. And Dee has raised her hand, and so it's 7-0. I believe I didn't see Mr. Enright Randolph's hand.
I'm a little indifferent on a lot of these, so the fact that we have a majority, I think we could just move along.
So the vote then is 6-0-1. Okay, so he's abstaining, technically. Okay, so we're moving on to the 6675 East Gross Road, and that's from forest to conservation residential.
Correct. So this one, it's basically two parcels. I'm clicking in between each one of them. There's a section line that comes right through here, and they're requesting, yeah, it would be conforming in acreage if they were changed to conservation residential.
Good with that?
Okay, now, does anybody have any questions, or do you want a show of hands for who's in
I
favor?
have a question.
Yes, Mr. Ferris.
So, over in the staff notes, explain the address is not accurate in the CDO map. What if,
Right. The address, I remember looking at that last week. I think when I was looking at it through Elevate, it wasn't connecting correctly, so that's why we are using parcel numbers now. And we actually had to, the GIS division make the CDO map available for us to search. It was more of a personal note that I was going to have to look it up a roundabout way, but we have the ability to use parcel numbers tonight on the CDO map.
Right. Does that resolve your question? Let's have a show of hands of who's in favor of this. Who's opposed?
oh, I'm sorry, I'm in favor.
Okay, so do you have that number? I think that's 7-0.
7-0 for
Okay.
request to CVR.
Okay, the next item is 6680 North Bottom Road, and this is requested to go from residential to agricultural. And if you have their notes on the far right column that we don't need to read, but if we'd like to discuss it, please show your hand. If not, we can have a vote. Please show your hand. Who's in favor?
What are we voting on? Sorry.
On 6680 North Bottom Road.
Okay.
Okay.
Residential to ag. Okay, so John, that one.
He's got her hand raised.
I mean, I read through this. There's a lot of information. I don't have a photographic memory, so, you know, I'm just trying to get a sense of the very basics of what they're asking. So what you just provided was helpful. I did my best to try to memorize as much so we could be efficient, but, you know, if I don't even know what they're asking, I'm going to take time to look at it. Or if you want to just move past, then I could discuss it at another matter if we already have 5 members in favor, because we're looking for a majority of the Plan Commission. But that's why my delay, and I just wanted to explain that. So I am in favor now that I understand the basics of just the simple request. We don't have to go into the lengthy description, but if you wanted to add that as we go through this, Tammy, that would be very helpful for me, so I don't feel like I have to reread everything to understand and follow along.
Okay, so the next item is North Wayport Road. This is adjacent to 8300 North Wayport Road, and the request is to change it from residential to light business. It's currently vacant. Is there anything else that staff would like to add, or any questions that anyone has?
The current zoning is pre-existing business,
Yes,
and it somehow got marked as residential, so,
I see.
yeah.
What does the zoning map say?
The zoning map currently has it as pre-existing business. And we had it as residential proposed in the draft map, so the request to do limited business seems to make sense.
Okay, any questions? Please raise your hand. If not, please raise your hand if you're in favor. Oh, do you have a question, Ms. Gibbons?
Do, is this right next to other property that is also being requested that it change?
No other requests. The two properties to the south are limited business as well, proposed to be limited business, and I think they're wanting to maybe expand so that they can become a more conforming lot.
But this is, the parcels to the south are Worms Way, and those are listed in here.
Can you use the
The
microphone?
parcels to the south are Worms Way.
No, those
No.
are not. That
Okay.
is going to be a whole separate tab and
That is,
discussion.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So-
Here's a larger.
Because I can't even get on the internet right now, so.
Worms Way is down here. You can see my cursor circling it.
Right.
And we're highlighting this area up here. And it is along the I-69 corridor.
Is that Sample Road?
Yeah, I can't get on the internet.
It's north of Sample.
Samples down here.
Right, so it's north of Sample.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's pre-existing business now.
Is that
Correct.
Oliver Winery?
No,
No.
they went with ag. We rezoned them to ag during a PC admin meeting so that winery is a permitted use.
Okay, Mr. Morris has a question.
Yeah, first a comment, excuse me. I had trouble getting on the internet as well, so if anybody else is, you can forget the network and reconnect and type the password back in, and that seems to connect, so.
Okay, I tried that, but it
okay.
didn't work that time.
But my comment was more general to kind of give an opinion on how I'm going to vote in general tonight, and that is just to say that if anything is being requested as a higher intensity, for the most part, I'm going to vote against it because I think that it's a disservice to our community and members of the public to be changing things to a higher intensity without going through the formal public hearing process where signs are posted in the yard and where the neighbors get a chance to speak out. So I think if I vote against something tonight, that doesn't mean I'm going to vote against it if it comes before the Plan Commission, but I don't think this is the right venue to be making changes like this. So I just wanted to share up front my
Agreed.
thought.
Agreed.
That's
Thank you.
great.
I-
Thank
I-
you.
I have some
Yes, Mr.
questions
Enright
with the
Randolph.
open discussion. The fact is we're creating a new zoning map. So there are going to be upgrading, zoning, and downgrading. And there's going to be a number of different properties that are affected, and this is our process to go through these requests. So there are folks that will be impacted just due to the changes of the zoning map itself. My question is more broad that I think maybe was alluded by Commissioner Thomas, that there have been a few different rezones that went through the Plan Commission that have had maybe a split vote, maybe a difference of opinion, and it sounds like to me that you're kind of separating those out. When we're going through this many potential zoning requests, it gets pretty complicated. So if there's any that we've discussed as a Plan Commission, I think that would be helpful to point out. And, you know, I respect everyone's decision in making it, but this is, there's going to be significant impact without going through the typical procedure because we're changing the zoning map. And so I will take my time, and I'm a little hesitant of the format because if we're not doing a roll call and we just raise hands real quick and I'm still in there and it's moving along, that doesn't seem like a good way of conducting this business because this will impact people. I think there's cases here where I'll probably, you know, lean towards what is being asked or not. And I want to give it a fair approach to looking at it. And then, sorry to repeat myself, but this will be the end of this comment, that people will be impacted. And this is the opportunity to address concerns. And I really wish that we would have had a recommendation column from here on this from planning as well. And that's what's really missing here, because we're flying through this and I still don't understand where planning truly stands on some of these. And I'm just getting more and more uncomfortable, and we're only 25 minutes into this, and only a handful of, 1, 2, 3, 4, I think we're on like our 5th one, maybe? Thank you.
Ms. Owens has her hand raised. I don't think we can hear you. Can you?
You have to rely on the closed captioning.
So if you could kindly, Ms. Owens, type in your comment,
I think the chat is closed.
is disabled.
She'll just say it and it'll show up.
Go ahead and speak, Dee, and we will repeat it because it does show in the transcript. Okay, Dee's saying, I'm just going to say that, I went through these materials, and if I have any questions, I'll ask them. Otherwise, I don't see what the problem is moving through it all. If there's a question, ask it. If there's not, let's move on.
Is this time to have a vote on the issue of whether or not we'd like to go through them as we had started out to do, or if we want to change our method right now?
My main point is these will show up in the draft map that we're going to adopt. So if that what we're doing now will carry over to eventually what we're going to adopt. And that needs to be very understood. And if we choose to allow this, we're going to have a map. We don't have another go around. So it's going to be very impactful and it's very important. And this is a very sensitive and sometimes maybe even a contentious type of discussion, because we are making real impacts on people that own property or future uses of said properties. And we are actually giving direction to planning right now, and they're going to make these changes, and then that is what we're going to have to then come together and decide on in the future. And I want to make that very clear, because it seems like, let's just run through these, we'll have another chance to address it. This is our time.
Mr. Ferris, did you have a comment you'd like to make?
Maybe as a compromise, it would be helpful to me if you would explain, give us a little bit of rationale why in the draft zoning you indicated what you did or request or recommended, in contrast to what somebody is asking for. So why did you say what it was and why is it a change? Just very briefly.
I can probably answer this one. So if there was a pre-existing business zone property, we tried to eliminate that zone, because right now the pre-existing business zone does not have a use table column. It's based on a change in intensity. It's pretty difficult to determine what businesses can change in and out. It's been difficult for people that own pre-existing business properties on how to, give them predictability for selling the property, what it can be used for. So we're going to eliminate that zone, and we're typically changing it to limited business or general business. But what we've found since the adoption of the 1997 map and the pre-existing business zone is that a lot of those properties have been developed residentially. So if it was taxed as residential, which may have been the case here, it would have just gotten captured in the residential zone. But now the person is requesting a business zone, so we've had a chance to contact them.
So I don't take issue with this one. I'm talking in general. As we go through all of these, if you can very succinctly just say why and why.
Sure.
That's it.
We can do that.
That
Sounds good.
Okay, so now that you've said what you've said, what is the use currently pre-existing business on this lot?
Zone is currently
Is
pre-existing
the
business.
use currently pre-existing business?
The use is vacant.
Yes.
And then the comment, they're wanting to develop this one to kind of expand the business that's to the south, I believe. The existing improvements on 8300 do not meet the setbacks and other development standards. Lack of pervious surface area, green space. The North Wayport Road property will enlarge the LB parcel and make it meet setbacks and green space and pervious surface standards. So they're wanting to kind of expand and utilize it.
This is, according to Google, this is Parker Pools. I don't know if that's still the pool owner, but as you drive I-69, the pools are on display. That's this property.
We're done as a business.
I'm in favor of supporting it or leaving it as is.
Okay, let's have a show of hands. Who's in favor of rezoning it to LB? Who is in favor? Okay, who is opposed?
Motion does fail.
Okay. Okay, we move on to 9166 North Mount Tabor Road. And if you want to give us just a sentence about this, it's going from ag to forest.
Right. I think this person, they do have on their property report card a designation of classified forest.
Yes.
It is also taxed as cash grain general farm. So either zone would work. It was just kind of unclear from their comment whether they were actually truly asking for it to be, rezoned or to be zoned forest reserve. So we put it in here. It's questionable. I will say that they're taxed as a cash grain general farm. It's currently zoned ag. They do have forest reserve as, or they do have the classified forest designation for their taxing purposes.
And how many acres?
Great question. It was significant.
Yeah, it looks like it is. I'm having to use Google Maps now because I can't get online, which is ridiculous.
So,
On Beacon, it's 21.74.
Thank you.
thank you.
So are we, I guess, since it sounds like there's a little uncertainty if this is really what they were wanting. Is there any limitations or restrictions if we favor their recommendation that we should be aware of?
I mean, it's unclear what their recommendation is, but leaving it ag, I don't see harm in it. They're still going to be having the classified forest tax designation,
Right.
which is on the property report card.
I move to just not support the public commenters because they may not be exactly aware of what they're asking based off of kind of the discussion.
I would go a little further, and I would say I would ask staff to follow up with the property owner. And
That's
that
what
could
I'd
be-
like.
Okay,
Yeah,
Yeah, let's leave this one
perfect.
yeah.
voted on and staff will follow up. Okay, so the next item is 3820 West Prather Road in Ellettsville. If you want to review that very quickly.
Sure, this one's more, it's kind of comment related. That it was, how is the property next to us zoned differently? We're all in the same area. Monroe County needs to focus on improving infrastructure, homelessness, and less time expanding housing in rural communities. So I think they're referring to these these res zoned lots over here. And really it simply boils down to that these are under 2.5 acres, whereas this is a 9.5 acre lot, and that it's more like answering their question as to why they're zoned differently. I don't really think there's an action that needs to be taken with this one, but it is a zoning map related comment where you could potentially rezone or
Well,
tinker.
I would like to leave it alone. I don't know how many agree with me. Please show your hands. Okay, we're leaving it as is.
Great.
He raised her hand.
Oh,
on that
and
one.
Dee raised her hand as, okay, great. The next item is 8566 West Hedrick Road in Gosport. It's, if staff, it's going from residential to agriculture concerning 1.1 acre.
Right, this one, yeah, 1.9 acres, it's vacant. They own the property to the west. But when looking at the transfer of ownership between these two properties here, this one doesn't look and appear to be a separate lot of record. So if it is zoned to ag, it would be more difficult to add a structure to this property. They would not be conforming with minimum lot size, minimum lot width, which is why staff, I believe, zoned it res to begin with. But
However,
they do want it to be ag, so I mean, then there's the use question, and this one doesn't quite meet the condition in the res zone for traditional agriculture, which is 2-acre requirement. They only have 1.9 acres to be able to do traditional agriculture. Doesn't mean they couldn't still do accessory livestock.
Well, they made a request, and the question is, do we honor it? Or do we skip this and follow up with them?
Would we be creating a non-conforming lot?
That's really interesting because in some instances, you could be making a lot conforming with regards to structures, but you might be making it non-conforming with regards to the use. So there's a little bit of a thing you need to weigh here with regards to the use versus if you think they're ever going to add structures to this separate lot of record, then it would require BZA approval with the variance.
I would say we honor their request and rezone this to agriculture to match the use.
I agree. Let's have a show of hands. Who's in favor? 1, 2, 3. D is raised. Okay, so it's unanimous. Okay. The next item is 7607 North Bottom Road in Ellettsville. And this, they want to leave the property the way it is.
Yeah, this is very similar. It's 1.93 acres. I don't recall if it was taxed. I think this one is just taxed as a single-family dwelling. It's not agricultural taxed. So this is then, they do have the ability to do accessory livestock if that is a use concern for them.
With residential or with the agriculture?
Well, actually with both.
With both?
But with res, there is an accessory livestock use that they could utilize.
But not the ag, but they've asked for ag, so,
They've asked to leave it alone.
right, which is ag. The draft zone is residential. The current
Yes.
zoning is ag, correct?
Yes.
Current zoning is ag.
Okay, so let's have a show of hands. Who says to leave it as it is?
Ag.
Ag. 1, 2, okay, and D has raised her hands. So that's pretty good. Okay, we're going on. There are 2 Steinsville properties. One is at 7770 North Steinsville Road, and the other is at 7780 North Steinsville Road. And they're requesting to go from residential to agriculture. If you have anything else you'd like to add, staff, on this?
Right, so the sliver here is actually part of a large farm. And I did confirm with the deed that this 1.33 acre lot probably should be ag because it's part of a larger deed. It's just a separate parcel.
Yes.
This is the other lot in question that was zoned res, and it actually is a separate lot of record through the deed research. This is exactly 2 acres. So traditional agriculture is permitted with standards, and the standard is it must be 2 acres. So if we leave it res, it's conforming. If it gets zoned ag, it becomes non-conforming with regards to structures.
Well, they've asked to keep it ag.
So
yes.
just to clarify, the 7770 is
The two.
highlight the 7770. That's that one.
Yes.
That one should be res, but then the other one really should be ag. So I'm gonna move that 7770 North Steinsville Road, remain residential. 7780 North Steinsville Road becomes ag.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Just to be clear, that addresses the structures not in nonconformity being conformed.
Correct, and they would still be able to do traditional agriculture because they're 2 acres.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor, it's unanimous, right, Dee? Okay, great. Okay, so one more item for the first page, and that's West Delap Road in Ellettsville and Maple Grove Road. And this is going from res to ag. And do you have anything you'd like to clarify with us, staff?
Yes. And we're getting an echo, I'm not sure why.
It's probably
Okay. So with this one, this whole area that I'm pointing out is it's the same lot of record. It comes up under the same parcel number. And this is the piece actually in question here that is zoned res, that they would like to have switched to ag so that it matches the rest of the zoning of their large farm.
That makes sense to me. Does anybody have any questions about that or further items to discuss? No?
What about the use? Is that impacted?
No, I mean, it's all one parcel. It's all one lot of record, that whole big area. And this is just one of the parcels that got selected by staff to be zone res.
Okay. Let's have a show of hands for those who approve. Okay?
Moving it to AGR.
Yes. Okay, so on this page, we've gotten through our first page and
Ready to go.
yeah, congratulations. There's only one that needs to be referred for follow-up at this point. And we'll go on now to the page 7. And this is 5083 North Lincoln Union Valley Road. And this would be going from CD to ag.
This is the one that we covered the second in the agenda. That's the only one I think I moved.
So that one is done?
Correct.
Oh, we're ahead of ourselves. Then we go on to 2 properties on Arlington Road, 4950 West Arlington Road and 49, both of them are 4950 West Arlington Road. And they want to go from light business to general business. So do you want to go over that with us a little bit, just 1 or 2 sentences?
And I'm going to say there might be a typo in the packet. Well, hold on. Let me check. CDO has this as MR. So I want to first go into the beacon map where we see the current zoning as GB and MR. And this is all one lot of record. And they actually have, from a while back, they did a very large site plan approval to do a veterinary clinic here. It was determined that this actually utilized the rural community zoning overlay, and we were able to use the MR zones for business purposes. So we aren't going to be proposing a rural community zoning overlay this time around. When we look at the draft zoning map, they're zoned, the 2 flanking ones are still zoned residential. Maybe it's an oversight of staff, but it should most likely be a business lot. These all were combined for planning and zoning purposes. It's one lot of record. Their proposal, they would like it to be GB, which is how we interpreted it, to be able to put the vet clinic there, and which is no longer going to happen, I don't believe, but it's always kind of had that intensification for zoning.
Okay, do members of the commission have any questions? Yes, Commissioner Thomas?
I'm just not really clear on.
Right. And I'll just kind of give the general trend of the area now. We've got several businesses at Highway 46 and Arlington Road. And yeah, it's all one lot of record. We interpreted it to be general business all along because of the rural community zoning overlay that we currently have in the ordinance.
Okay.
So this would, because the veterinarian business is not going in there, this would,
It is vacant currently.
it would encourage a more use than is currently permissible, correct?
In the draft zone, it is split zoned for residential and business right now.
Yes.
Which would be very difficult to interpret from a planning and zoning standpoint.
But residents can't go in there. That's not
And
appropriate.
much of this area is already zoned GB. We've got LB up here.
But I mean, GB versus LB is what I'm asking. You know, if it were to be zoned LB, that's less intense than GB, correct?
In some instances, yeah, I probably, yes.
So,
A higher number of uses
I
would be
would-
permitted.
a higher number of uses. So I would say LB. Does anybody have any feedback on that or any, Mr. Enright Randolph?
And I guess if you go back to the Beacon site, sorry, that's what I'm using. Maybe I should switch over. Yeah. Those are the lots in question. So one of them is already zoned GB?
Currently, yes, it's split zoned.
But it's vacant.
Yes, they did some demolition work to prep for the veterinary
but it's
clinic, but
already
then it wasn't
Zone,
able to
and
happen.
what they're asking is for us to zone the others to that.
Yeah. So it was getting down zoned.
Of zoning it all as one at GB, but to down zone one, I would not be supportive. I just don't. That's my real thought is if we're looking at trying to change the zoning and one's already zoned as general business and they're asking us for general business and we potentially might look at a light business or limited business, sorry. I wouldn't be in favor of that. I'd be more in favor of just leaving it as is because there's already a zone designation there. But I guess it.
So
I guess I could make a motion. I don't really feel like I'll get the support because a lot of people express
I have
not
a question.
wanting
Could you
to.
do that, please? If I could.
Absolutely.
yes, I wanted to recognize you.
Okay.
Yes.
If you continue, and again, I'm having to use Google Maps because I cannot get on the internet here at all to see maps, which stinks. If you look at Arlington Road and you continue away from State Road 46 on Arlington, the next lot over is a residence, correct?
Yes, I think I do recall that being a residence when I took site photos out here.
Yep. So
And there was a variance back to do the RCZO with regards to fencing and the
Yep.
dogs
Got
being
it.
outdoors to do therapy.
got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's right. So I just want to follow up. Does anyone have any thoughts on it being limited business versus general business?
So point out the GB, the existing GB.
It's the central one with my cursor right here.
This
It's
one,
GB.
and it's LB currently.
LB.
GB currently.
Which map is up at the moment?
Sorry, I showed the
sorry.
screen to me. Julie was asking. So this is the current zoning map in front of you.
It's
So this,
general business.
the 3 selected parcels are all one. And then this is the current aerial of what's nearby.
Homes there.
You have 3 parcels.
But one lot of record. And it's all,
And that's all 4950.
yes. It's an old mistake. This is a chance to correct it.
Yeah, I would go LB just because you've got residents on either side of it.
That's what I do.
I just don't feel comfortable. If they want to come back, they can rezone.
I agree.
I just,
So I'm going to make a motion for LB. All-
I got a question.
Yes, Mr.
Just-
Ferris.
Just for argument's sake, so you're proposing a minimalist approach on.
I am, because we create zones, we set zones, they're changed by the public, or they're changed by property owners.
So you take the
And-
smaller, then they can always take a variance and make it bigger if they need to.
Right, or they can come for a rezone.
They-
Right, but they'd have to notify the neighbors, to Jeff's point.
Yes.
I just have a point of order. I was mentioning to make a motion that, and then now a motion's being jumped in front of mine. I was patient, I was willing.
We have not
I
closed
understand.
discussion, Mr.
Madam
Enright.
Madam
Excuse me, I'm
Vice
speaking.
President.
I am presiding
I
over
thought I
this.
was. This is an
No,
admin meeting where
I-
the conversation's
You
somewhat
haven't been
free-flowing.
recognized right now.
That's not the admin procedure.
Okay, so let's take a vote on whether or not we would like for this to be GB. All those in favor, please raise their hand. All those who are in favor of it being limited business, please raise their hand. Okay, so I think,
D on there, D's a yes.
so D's a yes.
Jerry, I didn't see your hand for either vote.
I can't even figure out what property we're on because I can't get on the internet. And when I try to look at this, I can barely read it on my phone. So I abstain.
Is there something else I can pull up map-wise for you, Jerry, that would be helpful?
Well, it would be helpful to be able to use a computer where I can look at both, but I can't see anything at all. So, I mean, I have no idea what we're even talking about. Yeah, but I can't even get my phone to connect to the internet.
You, Julie?
I can't get on.
Okay.
Got this because I had it up earlier on my computer, so.
We need to reboot the server. That here,
What'd you say?
reboot the server. You guys not do that? or-
So I had already emailed help desk when we first sat down, but I didn't hear back. So, but I can get on Outlook, but I cannot open the website. If I can't open the
I still
website, I can't get
that's not-
to
you
anything else.
can't-
So it's the
If I turn it
website,
this
not
way where
the
I can
internet.
actually see
That's
more
the
than
problem.
one thing, it's too small.
We want to take like a 3-minute
Can't read
recess
that.
and see if we can, because I,
Yes, let's take a 3-minute, 5-minute recess so that we can try
Oh,
to
fine.
resolve these technology issues. So we just took a little 5-minute break in order to get our technology up and running, but now we're set to to review page 7 of the individual zoning requests by parcel, and there happens to be a group of items in dark pink involving 6330 West State Road 48 and 110 North Ord Road. And I believe that the property is owned by Highway 48 LLC. And it is being proposed to go from agricultural to light industrial. And
Not the Ord Road. Take the Ord Road out.
Yeah.
Yeah, take that one out. Different
Okay.
owner, different. yeah.
So just all of 6330 West State Road 48, which involves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parcels. And that would go from agriculture to light industrial. And so, staff, is there anything that you would like to say about this, or is it obvious to us?
Sure. This one, I'm going to use Beacon because we still have the business industrial overlay for this area, the BIO. And all these properties are in the BIO, which does kind of allow them uses for light industrial. They're currently under agriculture. They are being farmed. I don't know if it's hay or what, but they're taxed ag as agricultural use. There's heavy industrial here to the south. We are also right in the line of flight for the airport, and let me put that noise sensitive overlay on. So residential is not ideal here. We do not want residential to go in the noise sensitivity zone. It's just after multiple meetings with the director of the airport, not residential. So the request here is to kind of continue on with the business industrial overlay uses for light industrial, and that's what they are proposing.
Okay. Any comments from, yes, Mr. Enright Randolph?
One, I just saw D. Owen's name coming up, and I almost heard you. I think that was resolved. So I just wanted to bring attention to that. And then I guess my real question is, none of these are going through a current rezone. We've seen a lot of activity in this area, and one thing I like to kind of familiarize myself with is more of the regional effect when we do zoning. So is any of these parcels that are adjacent going through a rezone process now?
Not to my knowledge.
Not to your knowledge? Okay.
I can interject if I may briefly. Just down the road, 6610 West State Road 48, which is across the street from North Ord Road, that was just rezoned this past year to light industrial.
Okay. Thank you. That's kind of what I was thinking. All right. Thank you.
And Ms. Owens, you have your hand raised?
So, guys, you can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. I can no longer see the screen. Is the screen being shared now? I can't see before I could see it, and now I can't.
It is, yes. We're seeing it here in this space.
Try clicking on the Teams icon, D, and see if that pops it back up.
Maybe the view that she's using also.
It just comes up automatically. I mean, I don't need to do anything. Now, right now, all I'm seeing is RM, the circle.
RN.
I'll send you an email, D, on some ideas for how to fix it.
Or I just can go out and come back in.
D, if you look at the bottom of the screen, you'll see a Teams icon, and there may be a couple of windows open.
No, there's not a Teams icon on my screen. I'm on an iPad.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't realize you were on an iPad.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Ferris?
So just point out to me.
Yeah, I see it.
She needs to speak into the.
Okay, good.
Just point out to me the areas.
Can you
around
speak
it.
in the microphone? Thanks.
Had that problem. Could you just point out the areas around this area and tell me what they're zoned as?
Sure. Well, from a draft standpoint, or this is the current zoning map. Currently, the zoning is
But see, I can't read it from where I'm looking
right.
at here.
So the green is agricultural. This is heavy industrial. We have the airport. We have a general business lot, which is actually actively developing. We have a light industrial, limited industrial, and these just got rezoned to light industrial. And then I'm pointing out also that you can see these pinstripes through here. This is the business industrial overlay, which allows for light industrial uses and easier rezones. It's not used very often, but it's been there since 1997. And then the noise sensitivity zone, if we back out a little bit, you can kind of see the airport runway and then this other hatch mark here where we do not encourage residential use.
Okay. Does anybody else have a comment? I think that I'm going to be voting in keeping with our statement that we err on the side of conservative reclassification. We keep what's there and less intense use because nothing has taken advantage of the LI use for decades now. So it's time to reconfigure that, and I'm going to be supporting that it remain the same. What do other people believe? Let's keep, yes, Mr. Pittsford?
My concern here is that I don't see this being used as agriculture, and I feel like the agriculture is just being used as a placeholder. If it's not LI, then it should be something else that's more appropriate for what it's going to be. To simply say, well, it needs to just remain, it should just be ag, so that then whatever anybody wants to do has to come back for approval to change it to something else. We're not doing anything to anticipate what the future use is here. We're just simply saying, well, we don't want it to be light industrial, so we'll make it ag, and then we'll figure it out later. And then whoever buys this property has to come back in for a rezoning. And I'm in favor of making it limited industrial or the light industrial.
Ms. Owens?
Yeah, it's currently being farmed, so I think ag is absolutely appropriate. It's got the overlay, so that right there gives them the opportunity in the future to pretty easily change it, I'd say. So I think leave it the same. It's currently being farmed.
I would like to make
Is
one.
the current owner the one who made the request?
Well, I'd like to make one correction. We will not have a business industrial overlay moving forward. It is something that we're getting rid of.
Well, I get that.
It's not utilized. Well,
Yeah, I get
but
that.
I wanted to correct because D was under the assumption that we were going to be keeping it, and we are not. So this will just be a straight zoning with no overlay.
Okay, so is it the owner who made these comments?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so the owner does not anticipate it continuing as ag. I think in this case, since it is currently in an area that was supposed to transition toward a business industrial overlay, that we should respect that previous designation and the owner's request to go to the light industrial. That's what I would move.
Mr. Enright Randolph?
I was maybe looking for a compromise, but I agree with Mr. Pittsford's statement. And also just kind of wanted to express why. And what we've heard is that this falls into the, and I want to say it correctly, the airport noise sensitivity zone, where they're discouraging residential. And knowing that the property owner had requested this, I would tend to support their request. Or the compromise, which was kind of where I was thinking, is we could come back to this and maybe planning could look at it a bit more and maybe formulate a recommendation on some of these. I feel like, and I mentioned that that's a big pivotal thing that's missing in this is where's planning's position on some of these? They're the experts, they're the planners, and they should have provided us some recommendations of these zoning. And it might be my only opinion, but that's the way I feel. And I feel like that could be a compromise to revisit this one and allow the planning department to weigh in on this and kind of give us some direction, because it was stated that this area isn't a desirable place and people aren't looking for it, and it shouldn't be a residential use. I shouldn't say desirable. People might be fine with living there, but it was stated that it shouldn't be a residential use because of the location to the airport.
Colonel Ferris?
So for those of us who have actually lived next to a flight line, you definitely do not want that to be residential. The question I have is, they said anticipated future use of the land. What does that mean? Did they tell you what that was?
No, but I do know that it's currently farmed, and in the light industrial zoning district, we do have traditional agriculture as a permitted use. So they would still be able to farm. I think it's been used as a fill site when they do development at the airport. They have sometimes used it to put the spoils there from airport, airport development.
Bear in mind, North Park's also used agriculturally for the time being. Parts of North Park, they run cows over there.
True.
Yeah, so there are homes on the property.
There's one here, and it's not proposed to be converted to light industrial. They're leaving that as ag.
Okay, I see homes along.
This is not
I
included.
see they're outside.
This is not included. And
Okay, got it.
This is the fill site here
Okay,
that they utilized with the trucking company that's.
got it. Okay, perfect.
May I?
Yes, Mr. Pittsford?
Just one more comment. There was a time not so long ago, we talked about shovel-ready opportunities, for industry in this county. And I've seen us really abandon that idea. And when we keep taking areas that at one point we thought could go into an industrial and employment use, and then we put ag on it, then the buyer then is going to be induced into a rezoning process that we see drag on and drag on and drag on until they're discouraged and probably don't even want to pursue the opportunity anymore. That's why I think we have to look at some of these places and say, we need at least a shovel-ready opportunity. The light industrial may not be the preferred use whenever they come in, but it's a lot easier to propose a move from light to heavy industrial or some other employment opportunity than it is from ag. That's my point. And I think we've just really have abandoned the idea of making places readily available for immediate use for employment opportunities in this county.
So Mr. Pittsford has recommended light industrial. For those who are in favor of that, please raise your hand. Those who are opposed? Okay, so it's 4-3. Okay. Pardon me?
It did pass.
Okay, so the next item is 110 North Ord Road, and that is to go from agricultural to general business. Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
I would, yes.
Yes.
So along with the request to convert this to GB, and I am a little confused because the draft zoning map currently has this as proposed as Res 1, even though we are developing it currently as a GB use. I think that's a staff error that I'm just noticing. There is a home, I don't know if it's even a home. There's a structure here that is on the National Register for
That's right.
historic designation. It's called what, the Leroy something mansion? Sorry. Anyways, you're gonna see this property here come up again because the Historic Board of Preservation is going to be proposing an overlay to preserve this home, which is not locally protected right now. And I just wanted to note that while there's the consideration for converting this to possibly general business, there's also going to be the consideration to putting a historic preservation overlay on the property that will come up later. And I don't know if you want to talk about that when we're talking after the presentation for historic preservation.
I would make a recommendation, we leave this as is and wait and see what happens.
I agree.
If I may interject as well, I'm not 100% sure, I'm not 100% confident in the parcel lines as depicted on the GIS here. The home site might be on its own individual lot of record. I have not checked through the deed history for these properties, but the parcel that is being highlighted, I believe, is technically shifted downward. And there's also an accompanying detached parcel that's included in that request as well. The one parcel number populates two separate areas at the same time. I'm not sure how that happened, but it shows up on Elevate as well as the other GIS programs. So
let's just hold off on this and get some clarity on
Yes.
not only historic preservation, but also lot lines, parcel lines. Yeah.
All those in favor of leaving it alone? Okay, it's unanimous, except Mr. Pittsford, are you abstaining? You're, okay, you're with us, okay. Then we go on to 453 North Knapp Road / 453 West Keller Crossing. And this is going from light industrial to agricultural.
Right, it's currently, I'm sorry, I want to make sure I get the address correct. It is this parcel here, which is currently to be zoned light industrial. We had a rezone recently for these two to be converted to ag. I believe this one was tabled back in July because we wanted to reach out to this person, which has a residence here. We never heard word from them. We did try reaching out, got no response. And then they did get a postcard and still no response. So we're coming back to this that was tabled before as to if we would like to zone this residential use that's here, ag rural reserve. Or I'm sorry, agricultural 2.5.
Yes, Commissioner Thomas.
I would move that we make this ag rural reserve based on the property owner's request. And there's some behind it, there's some around it, it's not.
Is that the property owner? Because I'm looking at the name and I'm looking at the owner on the parcel data and it's not the same.
On Elevate GIS, the property owner is listed as Laurie Elliott.
And that's who requested.
That's the same individual that
Is
left the
it within
comment.
our purview to take the adjacent, that purple property in between what is going to be green and the other green parcels to, can we change that to ag RR right now with a motion? I'd like to move that we make it contiguous and that the property that hasn't responded to the notices also be included in the agricultural designation.
Can you read the address, somebody?
355 North Knapp Road.
Thank you, just for the record.
Yes, okay, thank you.
355 or?
355
It's
North Knapp Road
one
is the
that isn't
parcel immediately to the south of 453 West Keller Crossing.
Okay, so all those in favor? Okay. That passes.
Yes,
Yes, D was a yes. Now we're going to 2570 West Maple Grove Road. And this is a request to go from residential to agricultural. This is,
And this is 3 parcels. So there's these 2 parcels down here are they're zoned res, and these are the ones they would like to convert to agriculture. The person that requested it is Emma Stanger, courtesy of Chris Porter with BRCJ. What they're wanting to eventually do here is a 3-lot type E to shift the lot lines around, and this would make it an easier process. Right now, I think that the 2 residential lots that they would like to be zoned agriculture are 1.24 acres and 1.4 acres. So we would temporarily be making them basically non-conforming with regards to adding more structures to the property, but it would save staff a rezone later if they're just going to be shifting lot lines between the 3. And they are working with the professional surveyor, it looks like.
Commissioner Thomas?
I would move that we amend these zones as requested by the property owner.
All those in favor?
Yeah, and I would also make note, this is all part of a family farm operation anyway.
Yes, so D has her hand raised, just for the record. Now we're moving on to 8823 East Brock Road, and that also is a request to go from conservation residential to forest.
Right, with this one, the legal acreage shows up to be 5.05 acres. So if they were to go with the FOR zone, it would not be a non-conforming, I mean, it would be fine.
Okay.
And they do own several adjacent parcels, it looks like, though staff did not conduct a deed search on this one.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. We go on to 7389 East State Road 46. And this would like to go from residential to forest.
And this is a 6-acre property. And it's, yeah.
All those in favor, please raise your hand.
Quick question.
Yes,
What-
Mr. Pittsford.
What's the zoning around this? Are there a lot of large lots here?
So this is CVR. And we have FR. So it could go either CVR or FR.
Okay, so it was proposed to be res. Is anything else around it going res?
All of this brown color.
All that brown?
Yeah.
Okay. But to the east of it, is that forest?
This light green is forest.
Right, so it touches forest
Yeah.
designation. Okay, yeah, I can support that.
Okay, and just to clarify, yes, Commissioner?
Just raising my hand on your last call for a vote.
Okay, I think everyone in favor still? Okay, great. And with the regard to the items that are going to go residential, we will review those, right? That's Heritage Woods?
Yes.
No.
That's later on.
That'll be later on.
That doesn't look like Heritage Woods.
It wasn't. It
No.
was East State Road 46.
Right, so, but those are being,
Area around it is what you're talking
no, adjacent to this forest property.
Oh, okay,
The
sorry.
ones that were in brown, we will be reviewing those item by item, is that true?
We will be doing a Heritage Road,
No, I'm not talking about Heritage Road. I'm
a
talking-
Heritage Woods area.
Yeah, right. But on 46 here, next to 7389 East State Road 36, the one we just discussed, those brown parcels that are they currently residential or are they going to residential?
They're currently in the draft zoning as residential.
Their
So we'll-
current zone is suburban residential.
So will we review those or not?
You could review them right now if you'd like.
Let me get back to that area.
We did not have those as, these are people that are prompting us to look at them, so not
see.
always are we looking
I
at the
see.
surrounding area, but we can certainly,
I think we could do
Review
those
that.
later.
Yeah, we can do those later. Let's do those at another time, because we don't have, we'll just follow our list and anything that comes up that we need to review, we'll review later.
Trailway Drive.
That's Trailway Drive, yes, yes,
Write it down so that we.
yes. Okay, so then we move on to 8204 East State Road, or 46?
Right. I feel like this was more of a comment. This is an 8.1 acre lot. It's zoned, well, it's slated to be zoned forest, and it's an Eco 1. And their comment was more directed towards that they maybe wouldn't be able to farm. But traditional agriculture is a permitted use in the FOR zone. So,
So they are able to farm on a forest reserve.
correct.
Okay.
They just had a strongly dissatisfied survey. We thought we'd put it in here for consideration.
Looking at the aerial imagery on Elevate, it looks like there is some fencing on the property. And I believe that the Forest Reserve zoning district, the current one and the newer one would, I think if I am correct, it limits the ability for certain livestock to be had on the property. So they may be speaking to that with respect to farming, not necessarily row crops, but potentially livestock.
So I would say let's leave this and get more information.
Yes, let's get more information. Do you have a question, Mr. Ferris?
So when they send a comment and they do not have a request, did you ever provide any feedback to that comment? Or did you just capture it as you have it stated here?
I did not, like, their comment is how they submitted it. And staff has to do their best to interpret what they're actually wanting to be dissatisfied about. So we're just letting you know that they are currently zoned forest. They do have the ability to do traditional agriculture. There might be a limitation within the Eco 1 to not do livestock within the boundaries of a perennial stream. So.
I understand that, so what I would support as a follow-up question.
Yes.
so are you saying, Scott, for all of the ones that have a requested zone blank, that you would
I would suggest that we
reach
need
out?
to follow up and say exactly what do you want,
Okay,
Yeah,
instead of us guessing,
yes.
okay.
so.
All right. So there are 3 properties. I think we could discuss them together on Night Ridge Road, if I'm not mistaken. They're from forest to conservation residential. And they are not indicated by address, but by parcel number. Yes, Commissioner Thomas?
I was just going to suggest that we leave this as forest reserve, since this is a densification that is being requested that should be done with proper notice.
I agree
through a
with
rezone.
that myself. Let's have a show of hands. Who would like to keep it as forest? Please raise your hand. Okay,
His hand is
and
up.
Dee's hand is raised. Okay. So we're through page 2, and we're already, or page 7. We're going to move on now to south of 4895 South State Road 446.
Okay, yeah, this is on 446. This is kind of the entrance to the state park for Paintown. And there's a little gas station, people store boats all through here. We have this parcel that is currently being proposed as CVR. It is used for business and is currently zoned pre-existing business. This might just have been a staff error when we were going through the map, but it's a business currently, and it's connected to the lot north, which is zoned limited business.
I would support keeping it having it designated as limited business. It's been operating like that for a long time. Let's have a show of hands.
Wait a second, which one are we looking at?
We're okay with these.
Is this where the fishing shed is?
It's boat storage and
Right
there's
next to
a
the
gas.
fishing shed?
I do know they sell crickets there, like, and boat gear, like life jackets and stuff.
It's a gas
like
station,
fishing.
bait.
Okay,
It's the business just south of the fishing shed.
got it.
Yeah.
Fishing shed.
It runs on up the hill.
I have a question.
Yes.
So which parcel,
It's this
Are-
one that's zoned with the green,
Right.
currently CVR conservation,
right?
which would make this basically non-conforming with regards to the existing use.
And what about the other lot?
I mean, that this is a combined business here, and it's a limited business and pre-existing business is what it currently, they're both zoned currently pre-existing business.
Right, and those are not residences, those are businesses.
Yeah, and they're
I
storing,
hate boat
Those are
storage.
boats.
I hate it.
What's that? Okay, so did we have a vote? I can't remember.
Support the request.
All those in favor of the request? Okay. And D, okay. D's voted for, that's for, yes, limited business. So we're going on to 4652 East Heritage Woods Road, and that's for going from CVR to res. And yeah, do you have a comment about that?
so this is just, we'll be tackling, I think, the greater area because we did have a large comment for this.
Yes.
But I'm going to tackle that one later in the packet. This was a very specific, one person is specifically asking to be converted back to res. And
Yes.
they have 1.08 acres, so it makes sense.
So all those in support of converting this to res because it has 1.08 acres? What is the lot behind it? Who owns that?
I think it's theirs also, when I did
Wow,
the
that-
deed kind of search.
Can we talk about this with the others?
Yeah, because look at this map here.
Yeah.
They're one lot of record, I believe.
Yeah, but let's-
I would treat this one separate.
Would keep
Margaret,
this
are
one.
you talking about the large development to the south in
No,
the
I'm
purple?
talking about the,
This belongs to them as part of the 1.08. If I recall from last week, I feel like I did a measurement and I looked at
uh-huh,
this in total is one. Yeah, both of these are
together?
together.
That looks like larger than 1.08, but okay.
That's what I'm saying, I don't think that's 1.08 for both lots.
I don't think so.
It's 1.08 for the front lot.
The legal acreage for both of these parcels on Elevate is listed as 1.08 acres, and the calculated acreage, which takes the total of both parcels as drawn on the map, totals to 1.08. It's 0.601 for one of the parcels and 0.422 for the other parcel.
Oh my gosh, wow.
So both of those, that's how Elevate shows it.
Okay.
Calculated acreage, just the area of that polygon combined. And then the legal acreage is what's shown on the deed.
I'd still like to review it with the other East Heritage Woods Road
The other ones were more general. This is a very specific request to this one property.
Well, I'll go with, how do you, members of the commission, do you want to review this now or with the other East Heritage Woods Road requests?
I
think
would
we-
like to review it with the other Heritage Road.
Yeah, I agree.
requests,
I agree.
Because
Yes.
I can look at the little
Yes,
cheat
the whole
sheet
map.
here and I'm going, wait a second.
Yeah.
Let's
yes.
look as a whole.
I think we could vote separately, but if we talk about
Yes.
them all at the same time, I think that would be helpful.
Yes, so if we could move this to the other East Heritage Woods Road discussions, that would be helpful. Okay, so then I made a comment about East Lampkins Ridge Road concerning the Huntington properties. You know, they're currently farms and they're being farmed, and I think they should be agricultural.
So we
Is that
currently,
what the request is?
they're currently zoned CVR, which limits any high nutrient loading uses in that zone.
I see.
It still allows for traditional agriculture, but something like a composting farm wouldn't be allowed because this is in the eco zone. And this is somebody else that made the request, not the property owner.
So,
I was joking.
so we keep it as CVR?
Is this next to where the old observatory was there on that corner? there?
Well, and I'll also say that this is also owned by same owner, and it is zoned FOR. This one is zoned CVR. So if anything, I mean,
Echo R.
yeah, this one is also a Huntington property zoned FOR. I don't know if they're on the same deed. I did not look that up.
But they could pursue traditional crop agriculture in FOR,
Correct.
so we wouldn't be hindering anything.
That's farmland there.
Yeah. Okay.
But again, CVR also allows for traditional agriculture. It just also eliminates a lot of like high nutrient uses in that. That's what kind of makes the difference between the CVR and the AGR or the AGR lot.
So I have a,
Yes, Mr. Enright, Randall.
to that, and what you're saying is this limits what potentially could be impactful as far as pollutants and other chemical uses to farm this. If we don't support the request and go with what was proposed on the zoning map to a certain extent, it limits the type of chemicals and such.
I wouldn't necessarily say chemicals, but nutrients that
Nutrients.
can cause algal blooms and such.
Right.
More of
okay.
limiting the uses, so like
Right.
feedlot, stockyard, that kind of use would
Right.
not be permitted.
But it also could become much smaller lots under CVR than 5 acres.
Yeah, but the request here is AGR or the AGR, which is also 2.5.
Yeah.
Can we make it forest with an eco? Or is this something,
I think it should stay, I think it should be agricultural.
it's, currently it's CVR.
Yeah, but I think it should be AGR.
But what they're saying is CVR is still 2.5, so you still have the same density if you leave it CVR, but you also have additional protections against certain uses of the land that would damage the lake. Like you can't have a hot composting lot, for example, which you could do in ag. I know, I'm torn. That's what my brain looks like right now.
I'm very familiar with that area out there. I grew up in that area. out there, so
Yeah,
I'm very
yeah.
familiar with that area out there.
Yeah.
so-
Well, should we,
I don't know.
Maybe I shouldn't vote at all.
Maybe you should make a motion.
Do we
I'll
know what-
motion, oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, do we know what the current property owner wants?
oh,
No.
Oh, well, I didn't know this was your recommendation.
Yeah.
And you want to see it as ag?
So I would defer what we said before. I think we have to go back to the property owner and ask them what they prefer. Even though Margaret was the one who submitted this.
Yeah, I mean, they were noticed, and we did not get a response on what the owner wanted.
You asked them and they didn't say anything, or they?
Everybody got a postcard. Everyone got a postcard, and we got a lot of responses, and we figured if we didn't get a response, they were satisfied.
I would just as soon keep the CVR because it doesn't change density and it protects the lake. But I'm leaning that way now, that I'm muddling through the confusion.
That's what I was going to say exactly. Thank you.
I support
Great.
that.
Okay. Okay, so everyone who supports keeping it CVR?
I acquiesce.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to go to East Larry Wayne Drive, south of 3926. And this is a request for CVR to RE1, RE2, would like a split zone. Could you,
So it's currently split zoned RE1 and RE2.5, which we don't, the equivalent to that is probably a split zone of res and agar, HER. So you could entertain splitting the zone. And the way that it currently has been split is along the eco dividing line. So right now the RE1 1 acre lots are not in the watershed area, and the RE2.5 was in the eco 3 area.
But that parcel, that large parcel that's highlighted on the screen, and then that really narrow parcel that runs north-south,
That's just road.
that,
Yes.
but
it's
it
a
is zoned.
All of our roads got zoning, yes.
Okay. You know what? I did not notice that because I've only been looking at the big state road ones. Okay, interesting. Anyway, so, but the previous zone,
So this is what it looks like currently,
right?
and this is Smith
It is
Road.
split. Yeah.
And we've definitely had a lot of interest in subdividing this lot, but because there's no sewer yet out here, and a lot of times people wanted to have access off of the road here, which is not allowed under the ordinance. They all would have to come off of Larry Wayne Drive. There's just not been a successful subdivision of this property.
It's also worth noting that the RE1 zone and the RE2.5 zone that's currently listed on this property, those are not allowed for the sliding scale subdivision, so that might be a hindrance as to why it's not been subdivided yet either.
Oh.
They're only allowed under those districts the minor subdivision classification or the major, which the latter requires sewer. The former requires each lot to be at least 10 acres in size.
I would support not going with the recommendation and leaving it as is, but I'll let someone else make a motion.
I would say leave it as CVR, and then if they need to come back for a rezone, they can, but don't split the zones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that a general split zone? Isn't that like the exception to the rule?
Yeah, you don't want to do those.
Yeah.
okay, so I support that. All those in favor of keeping it CVR, please raise your hand. Okay.
Yes.
We're moving on to three items.
Well, yeah, there's 3 comments altogether.
Yes?
We have seen this before back in May 8th, 2024.
Oh, yes.
It was voted, let's see, they are requesting a higher density.
Yes.
The Plan Commission voted to keep it residential. So this has already been looked at, but because we were getting further comments on it, we brought it back for discussion.
And 2 of the comments are from a non-property owner.
We heard this at ORC, right?
Yeah, that's what.
And Plan Commission. So
Yes.
this went to Plan Commission May 8th, 2024, and it was decided to be res.
Okay.
1 acre lot size. And
Yes.
All right. This relates to an agreement that the property owner has with the city that we're not obligated to honor. So I say let's let's leave it res.
I would agree with that because, you know, to do higher density right now is to double down on what we've already built an awful lot of. And our inventory, you know, results are not in because they're still building the idea of a high density. So we keep, all those in favor of keeping it res?
But before we vote, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers states, I will not give up and will use measures to ensure my rights, not secure, but to ensure my rights. What rights does he have with the county regarding an agreement he made with the city?
I thought you were like, boy, he's walking over.
Microphone.
That we were not bound by that agreement.
We can't hear you on mic.
Okay. We looked at this earlier and concluded that the county was not bound by that agreement.
Thank you. That's important information to have before we make this determination. Because my instinct was to believe that if he had an agreement or a contract with the city, he should be within the city limits to enforce that agreement. It's kind of hard to enforce an agreement with the city through the county's zoning. So I'm in favor of the proposal.
Okay, so I think everyone, please once again show your hands in favor of keeping it the way it is. Okay, so that's unanimous. We're moving on to 5,000 South Old State Road 37.
I have a correction in the packet. This should be that the draft zone is HD.
Yes.
And that's high residential development. And their request is to be LD.
Okay. Well, that sounds good to me. Let's, any discussion here?
There's, the properties surrounding it are all slated to be HD. These are these all separate property owners?
This is the property that was maybe being considered the ARPA development for habitat in here. And the Kroger on the south side is this location here. So we have some walkability, nearby bus stops, a lot of services kind of in the area. But not sewer yet.
The current zone is the city zone, RS 3.5 Pro 6.
Yes, so that would be a 0.22 acre lot. Is that correct, Jackie? Yeah. And this would be proposed right now under the draft zoning map is 0.14 is for the high
what we found out
development.
On this property is you cannot do a package plan on this property. It is not capable of supporting one, which is why the ARPA project was dropped.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, so I don't know why we're even thinking about anything that would require a package plant or sewer when what we have available right now is septic. So I just wanted to throw that in there. It's impossible to do a package plant on this property.
Mr. Morris?
Yeah, I just wanted to see if we could confirm that the property owner is the requester here before we voted.
Yeah.
Cameron Reed is the requester.
I would reach out to the others that are marked HD. I get why they're marked HD. I get it, but at the same time, I don't know what they're going to do with that.
They're wanting to go to a lower density of LD is their request.
Right.
And it is the property owner is the one making the request in this instance.
But there are neighboring properties that are also marked HD. So maybe we go LD on all of them. I don't know. It's a block of them. And if that's an issue, I don't know what we do. Sorry.
So yes, to clarify, Julie's comment is regarding this parcel as well as the adjacent parcels that are all currently on the draft map designated as HD. And you're suggesting that potentially all of them go down to, or up, I should say, to LD. based on the
I don't
information.
know, I'm just throwing that
Right.
out there.
I'm just clarifying
Yeah,
what the
that maybe
comment
we need
was.
to talk to the owners, because
Yeah.
I don't, since we can't do package plan on that and sewer's not available, I don't know what we're supposed to do with that property.
You would still run into the same, no matter which residential zone you went with, it's the same problem for all of them until sewer becomes
No,
available.
I get that.
So-
But most properties are capable of hosting a package plant if they're large enough. Most, but certainly not all.
Mr. Pittsford?
Yeah, for staff, the HD designation, was the impetus for that the fact that this is in an area that's to be proposed for annexation and extending of sewer?
I don't know why we were zoning it HD at the time. This might have been when Larry,
I think also because of the pro overlay is going away. So with the pro overlay, it would have actually created allowance for townhomes and other denser housing types, which would be available under the HD zoning district.
Is it
It's kind of
within,
outside of it. It's by Allen Funeral Home, so
is it within an area that
on the other side of the
the
street.
possibility of sanitary sewer reaching that is in the foreseeable future?
I mean, the sewer, we did a subdivision here and it did have access to sewer at one point. We have SOMO over here, which is developing on sewer. The issue is that it's not being extended further into the county right now.
I know right now, but this is.
There are
a-
sewer lines nearby.
Yeah, my zoning ordinance is forward-looking, not present-looking.
Well, first of all, annexation has failed. The city is in a period of appeal, but we have no reason to believe that annexation will succeed in any of the 9 areas originally proposed. So I would like to see these several parcels of land, the ones that are in gray right now, to be zoned similarly, and I think staff needs to bring it back to us.
Yeah, I would appreciate that. And I do have a follow-up question on not part of what's been on the comment sheet, but part of this block of HD proposed is 4800 South Old State Road 37 at the top of that gray block. And there are a number of properties on that, so I don't know how that has to be zoned to be correct.
I don't understand.
There are, if you zoom in on that property,
Yeah.
they're all on one parcel. So I don't know what zoning that needs to be either to be correct. I'm not sure, I guess HD because that's all we have, but.
Is that a business?
But I would throw that in as a, hey, would you look at that while you're looking at
Yeah.
that area?
Yeah.
Does public transportation go that far out?
The bus stop, nearest bus stop is here at Kroger. But bus lines can change sometimes.
Yeah. And.
There's
just-
also the
just a-
school
Just a,
here.
right, just an approximation. How long is the distance, how great a distance from there to Kroger?
Oh, it was half a mile.
Yeah.
Half a mile?
Yeah.
Those are large lots. Mr. Enright Randolph?
Very quick to that answer, Tammy. I'm curious if you've ever walked it, but
No.
no.
It needs sidewalks.
Yeah, I've
I'm
walked
just
it.
trying to make light of some of today's meeting. On a more serious note, I don't really want to get into some uncertainties of how things are going to play out. That we just had a conversation about the annexation, potential sewer hookup. That is just going to be a very derailing conversation. But again, I don't think we know. There is no uncertainty. So I think that's very important. And I guess I'm going to circle back to kind of what Plan Commission member Jerry Pittsford said. very formal tonight. So we need to look at some of these and make them shovel ready. We've heard from a lot of people that if they have to go through certain processes, we don't provide certain predictabilities, that they might look elsewhere. And I think that should really be part of our thought process, or at least it's mine, because we don't know when someone might want to come and take an opportunity here 10, 20, 30 years down the road. But if they're not shovel ready, or have any zoning that might meet their needs, we might lose those folks that are interested in doing something in our community. And if we boil our conversations back to things that we don't know how they're going to play out, and one point is where I actually find certain things as an advantage if they do have the letter of support to connect to sewer. And we may not see how that plays out for quite some time. But again, we need to look to zoning these, because the last time we went through a comprehensive rezone, would someone correct me on, or would planning weigh in on the year that was, so I don't get it wrong?
1997.
1997. That's been some time. So if we're not forward thinking on this, we might lose a lot of potential investments in our community, if it's housing, if it's business, if it's employment, and to hamstring ourselves because of the uncertainties of potentially getting sewer, or how the city may play out their annexation pursuit, is not in the best interest of the best use of the property. And that's all I have to say on that, but I kind of agree. Let's take this back to planning and come back to it and really look at that. But thank you.
Does anybody else have a comment? Mr. Ferris?
Can you point out where Kroger is, just so I can get a point of reference here?
It's this PUD up here. That I think is the building.
So it's on the west side of 37. Those properties are on the west side of Highway 37.
Correct.
So I've knocked on those doors. I know those people. Yeah, so those are big lots.
And we do have preliminary plat approved for this area, and this area
Right.
for some density. We're just sort of waiting for some things to happen, other infrastructure things to happen first.
Right, right. So I think that we all have the consensus that staff would look at it and look at those properties as a block and come back to us. We know package plant isn't possible, and we know CBU isn't possible. So we'll take those recommendations, after you have an opportunity to review them. Now we're on to page 9 of the document. And this concerns West Gifford Road, south of 651 South Cave Road. And they would like to go from airport to agricultural.
This is a privately owned agricultural field, and it somehow got zoned
Yep.
AP.
Yep. I have moved that we zone it ag as appropriate.
I agree. Yeah, all those in favor?
I think they should be compelled to welcome airplanes beginning tomorrow.
Is that a vote?
I'm in favor. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go, fix it.
Okay, and then the next item is 7140 West Holland Hill Lane. And that is going from, request to go from residential to agricultural.
I mean, they could. It's 2.5 acres.
Uh-huh.
And if that's what they want, it's for you to vote on it.
I move it to ag.
All those in favor, please raise your hand. D's hand is raised, okay. Then we move on to 3399 South Bunger. And this is a proposal to go from agricultural to a light business.
So it's both of these zones here currently to go ag. I will say, I looked more critically at this, and we've got a lot of karst features and critical watershed within this property. There are some other like limited business and such in the area. And was this someone that was recently rezoned to GB? Well, yeah, there's some other business in the area, but I will say that this one has some environmental sensitivities with it.
How many acres is it?
28.64. The owners are the people that requested.
I would move that we leave this ag, but ask them to come in and file for a rezone if that's what they wish, because it is a significant change from what's there.
All those in favor? Okay. Dee has raised her hand. Dee, do you have a question? No. No. Okay, so we're moving on to 4848 South Woodbine Drive. And this, I don't know, understand the change.
Yeah, it's like they started a survey, didn't finish it. They aren't happy with residential zoning. What I will say is it is 1.69 acres. The property report card has it as single-family residential. So I'm not sure what they're dissatisfied about.
What? Oh, hold on.
I guess I would just echo what Scott said, is if they're not asking for anything, should we reach out and kind of clarify anything and then readdress it?
I'm just not sure what we would rezone them to.
It looks like they're operating a business. Did I mistake that when you clicked on it? It was E&R Building and Insulation?
Well, I don't know what you're seeing on Google Maps, but the property report card taxes it as residential.
Well,
The assessor's office taxes it as residential.
line on the pop-up, it says E&R Building and Insulation.
That could be the owner, I don't know. I mean, that's the property.
I see.
Yeah.
So it could be a home-based business or something.
If there's no request, I think we leave it alone.
I think so too. All those in favor of leaving it alone? Okay. D, it's unanimous, okay. We're moving on to 7445 West State Road 45. And this is a request to go from residential to agriculture.
So this lot is 2.12 acres. They have concerns about not being able to do agriculture. However, in our use table, traditional agriculture is permitted with standards in the res zone. The condition is that it must be 2 acres. So.
But the surrounding properties are agriculture?
Yes, but those properties are over 2.5 acres in size. This one's only 2.12, which if they wanted to ever do an addition to their house, they're going to the BZA for a variance.
I see.
How would this impact their ability to keep animals? Because it looks like that's what their goal is.
They could utilize either traditional agriculture and meet the permitted standard, which is that they have to be 2 acres in size, which they are, or they could do it under accessory livestock and raise animals underneath those standards that we have for that.
So there's no issue.
Well, how are they taxed? Are they taxed differently?
That's a good question.
I don't know if I asked that. I think they were residential.
They're tax residential.
Thank you, Jackie.
They're tax single-family residential.
So, I think the consensus that I'm hearing is people would like to leave it alone as residential, so at least it's conforming, right? So all those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, it's unanimous. We go on to West Leonard Springs Road, west of 5797. And this is a request to go from residential to agriculture.
I think with this one, There's a 21 acre farm here.
Yes?
That is under the same ownership as this 1.5 acres. So I don't think I looked to see if it was a single lot of record. That is my bad. But they're requesting to be ag, which would kind of go along with their large farm parcel that they own just there to the east.
Yeah, I move that we change it to ag.
I agree. All those in favor? Okay. Mr. Pittsford, Mr. Enright Randolph?
I'm thinking,
Okay.
I mean, what are the lot sizes? What my question is currently that we're looking at. I have to even get there.
Currently, it's 1.5 acres, and then the other the other part of the farm that they own is 21 acres.
Fine. Oh,
Same ownership.
Okay.
I'm gonna just not vote. My reason is trying to reduce nonconformity. They might adjust it, incorporate it, but if it moves to ag, it's 2.5 minimum, and we're looking at 1.5. So
They just don't know if it's one lot of record. So, well, it's okay. We have a majority, so that's approved.
I can interject for a minute. It looks like there is a platted subdivision that's part of that large 21.53 acre parcel that is tract 1 of a type E, and it's showing on this plat next to it, the subject property is its own lot of
Okay.
record, just so you know.
Okay, so it will be non-conforming, but at least it's consistent with the rest of the property they own. Is that copacetic with everyone? Okay, okay. Let's move on to 3395 West Cockrell Road. And that's another request to go from residential to agricultural. They own
Right.
2.57
Yes, and we
acres.
did confirm the legal acreage.
Okay.
Yeah.
All those in favor of honoring the request? Is there any?
Changing it to ag.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So that passes. Now we're moving on to 8489 and 8491 South Rockport Road. And this is a request also to go from residential to agriculture.
Correct. So this one is interesting. The farm itself is all of this. So it's about 45 acre of farmland. This is currently zoned res or slated to be res. The deed research does say it's a separate legal lot of record. In 2022, they got a minimum lot size variance to develop a house, which is not showing up here, but does show up in the 2024 aerials. So they have a minimum lot size variance kind of running with the land already to further develop it as residential. So it's, if you zone it to AGR or the AGR, it might still be considered conforming, and they already built the house.
Okay, do we want to just review the request and vote on that?
I would say we accept it. I think they know what they want. I think they have what they want. And I don't think the change to ag makes a whiff of difference in the big picture.
I agree.
Agree too.
Okay.
Change it to ag.
Change it to ag, okay, great. Now we're gonna move on to 2510 South Leonard Springs Road. And that is just a request to keep it the way it is. Currently, it's currently a fuel station,
Yes.
yes.
I don't think there's any action
I
needed on
don't
this
think
one.
there is either.
Okay, so we're done
We
with
went
that?
through a lot of data.
Thumbs up.
We just did a lot of data, and sometimes it blurred out.
That's okay, that's good.
You're allowed to blink every once in a while.
Yeah.
It's okay.
We go on to 4693 East Stip Road, and this is a request to go from forest to ag.
Right, and this is also in the Eco 1 overlay. So I just took the layer off of the Eco 1, and it's currently slated to be forest. They would prefer ag. But over here is the CBR zoning. So we don't even have any ag zoning nearby. So,
And they are not, because they're in forests, they're not limited to avoiding ag buildings, ag activity. Correct?
they're taxed as single-family residential. And yeah, they still would be able to do traditional agriculture on this lot.
If I may interject, in my conversations with a lot of folks regarding the CDO, when they hear forest reserve, commonly they immediately attribute that to protected forest land.
Right.
So when they hear I'm being switched to forest reserve or forest residential, they immediately think that we're trying to protect that land and that it's only going to be forest.
Right.
So this particular comment might be in line with that. I'm just speculating, but there were a few others earlier that I wanted to speak on with that regard, that slight confusion that folks might have.
Yeah, I think it's a great point, and I think if they ask, they can be informed. You're not stopped from doing any of the things you outlined that you wish to do on a forest. So I would say I move to keep it forest.
Quick question.
Yes.
So if it goes to ag, is it subdivisible? Because I think with forest it wouldn't be.
You're saying, can they subdivide?
Right.
They would need to have a minimum of 10 acres to be able to do a subdivision.
Don't meet that requirement?
No.
Okay. I just want to be sure. Okay. So they do not, by changing to forest, which requires forest residential is 5-acre lots, but they don't have enough to do a subdivision, so they're not being denied any right of subdivision for parceling off for family member or anything like that.
Correct.
And they're not proposing anything that would give them that right, so I think I'm okay with it staying forest and just helping them understand that their ag use is not in danger.
So all those in favor of keeping it forest, please raise your hand. Okay, great. Now we're at the last item on this page, and this is for Thomas Road on the west side.
But this one's interesting. It's more of a comment, and it was hard to interpret, so I'm just going to bring it out. They had concerns about some of the residential lots being converted to more of an industrial. So interpreting their comment, we weren't sure if they were talking about this mineral extraction area here or this area here that we've already talked about at the Plan Commission, or if perhaps they're even talking about some of the Ellettsville.
We can't see the map. Oh, okay.
Cannot see at
There we
all.
go. Now we can.
I was sharing, Tammy, so I'm sorry, and then I'm now sharing. So I keep
Jackie.
doing that to Tammy because I shared the 2-pager.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Give me a moment. It takes me a second to
It seems to
do
me,
this.
when I read it, that it's more of a general comment about preventing the sprawl of industrial lots down Vernal.
Right.
west-
So,
west
yeah,
of,
so was it this area that they're
Curry.
talking about, which is mineral extraction, or this area with the railroad track that we talked extensively about here that we've already kind of dealt with? They live up here, so kind of a vague request, but we brought it before you just to kind of let you know it's there.
And the response is noted. So.
I'm trying to get my bearings on this. Is this in the area where a lot of the housing is being done under the town of Ellettsville zoning? 'Cause I'm trying to remember where Tulip Street is on Thomas. I can see Ratliff there. Yeah, so, yeah, I think what they're talking about is the fact that a lot of that area has come under the purview. So if you went east on Ratliff, you get into town of Ellettsville zoning, correct?
If you go east on Ratliff.
Or west, I'm looking
So
at.
this is their parcel here.
I can't see where you're at.
Is this estate residential? This is their address.
Wiggle your cursor so I can see it. Here.
It's like a blue dot. Blue
That helps.
here. Yes.
Okay. Right. Okay. Right. So to my right on the screen, that's now part of the town of Ellisville zoning, correct?
I don't think that one has gone yet.
But that's where it's going. That area, that's where Ellisville has been going.
Yeah, I mean, Ellisville is wherever it's not colored in our zoning map. And then there was a couple of large parcels that recently were annexed in this area.
Okay, I think the question is, do we do anything with this or leave it alone? For those who'd like to leave it alone, please raise your hand.
I mean, they're not even requesting anything.
They're not, we're just noting it and moving on, okay?
And it's zoned for mineral extraction?
They're zoned residential.
Right, but the
But
property,
The purple down here is mineral extraction.
okay.
And then we have,
Well, the area that's commented on is, the draft is mineral extraction.
Yeah, it says ME.
This comment reads as a more of a regional comment than a property-specific comment, I believe.
Okay.
I think staff was guessing which lot and we chose the
Okay.
ME lot at
Well,
one
I
point.
looked up the address for the name of the person in Elevate to give me an idea of where they were. And they're really close to Ratliff Road, which that Thomas and Ratliff is developing out.
Right, yes. In their comment, they touch on a perspective of the region that they live in, as well as, I think, a general trend for the larger area of that side of the county.
Right. Well, and yeah, the areas labeled mineral extraction out that way are either going to be used for mineral extraction or nothing at all, because you can't build houses on that limestone. And the topsoil on it, you can almost kick it off and get down to stone. So their concerns will be limited by the stone.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on now to 930 East Chambers Pike.
So this one, I think they're in the right to ask for it. I did some deed research. This parcel up here is a part of this. There's a section line that runs through here, which kind of delineates different tax areas in the county. So it is one lot of record. It's just split by a parcel or a section line here. So
I guess my question is, it says 67 acres. Is that
yeah,
incorrect, or is there more parcels I don't see?
It's 76, not 67.
Oh, thank you. Because when I look at the southern part, it says 36.46.
I think there were others too. Like I pulled their deed and I was piecing it together, and it's a pretty significant farm.
And so they'd just like it to be agriculture. All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
My property's
We're going to
by
move
section
on
line.
to 1801 East Smithville Road. And
If I ever
this
do anything
is
with it, probably would.
a request to go to limited business or light business.
Correct. So I did look at the 2-pager for this one.
Yeah.
We currently have it zoned as RNH, and it might be likely that it's also should include, we should do a little deed research and make sure that we're rezoning all the proper, if it's this one versus, because the building spans the lot here. But the general contractor is not a permitted use in the RNH zone, but it is a permitted use in the limited business zone. If they've been around since 1994, they're currently operating under our Chapter 803 pre-existing non-conforming use. And I don't think we would want to really necessarily have them continue to operate under that, though they could. So this is the opportunity to,
You
get
said-
them zoned correctly.
You said you need to look at some of the other surrounding parcels, so do you want to bring this back to us?
Unless you want to trust staff and make sure it's one lot of record. I'm just concerned because the building does span
Right,
over the lot line here.
right, and it looks like there could be 4 lots involved.
I'm persuaded to go to limited business, but let's see what you find out in your research. to
Okay.
Make sure.
Okay,
Briefly, it looks like on Elevate, it's listed as the Grimes lots 3 and 4, although a plat map is not immediately accessible.
But what did we just agree
Do they
to?
own?
we haven't yet.
To wait, get more info.
Mr. Morris?
I just wanted to ask a follow-up question of staff because Bloomington Heating and Cooling is no longer in business. So I'm curious what is operating
Yeah.
out of that building now.
Good point.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I was just saying that Bloomington Heating and Cooling is no longer in business as of a couple years ago. So I'd be interested to know what actually is operating out of that building now.
Okay, so staff can bring this back to us. Does everybody concur on that?
Can I ask that we just take a 5-minute break because I feel like we're getting a little frazzled.
Okay, let's take a 5-minute
Maybe
break, but
just speak-
can we just decide on this?
Yeah.
One thing?
Yep.
Let's delineate, everyone in favor of following up on this at our next meeting, please? Okay, and then let's take a 5-minute break and we'll come back to the table. Thank you. Okay, so let's just reconvene this meeting and let's go for another hour, or someone has proposed that we go at least until the individual property comments are completed. So, which is a good stopping point. The next item is 2 items on page 10 of our packet, and that considers 1907 West Allen Street. And it's currently high density and they want to go to lower density.
Yeah, they did not specify what lower density, and it wasn't just their property, which their property is 4.67 acres. And then they were also just talking about their neighborhood, and the other one was talking about the surrounding area. It's currently zoned the RE, or the RS 3.5 Pro 6 with a couple of PUDs flanking it. And this is the lot here. The proposed zoning is HD. And it's sort of a similar conversation that we had to those lots over on South Old State Road 37, south of Kroger.
Yes?
But this is currently ag, right?
No, it's RS 3.5.
Oh.
We're in a
okay.
donut hole.
But boy, those lots are they're all farm lots. If you go through there, it's farming looking.
So what would we do?
I know.
If it's already R 3.5, so then the higher density doesn't really apply. It's R 3.5. What would it go to make it lower density? Nothing?
So the CD zone is 0.21. LD zone is 0.34.
But no, it's currently 3.5, right?
Currently, it's 0.221 or 0.22.
I see.
Yeah, that number is
I see.
is
I see. That's right.
a delusion of the city's
That's
old
right.
planning. Yeah,
Why are we using city anything?
because this used to be part of the
Fringe.
and when there was an agreement with the city regarding the fringe, we adopted their zoning,
Okay, that's right.
which we're not going to ever do again. Hopefully.
Okay, so, Mr. Enright Randolph?
It's not hard enough to learn one. You have to learn two.
I guess to let's say it's high density, and to really maximize the density, they're going to need to have certain conditions, and one of those conditions is going to be sewer, correct? So if you, okay, you have the draft up there. So if we're thinking about rezoning this, it's really going to kind of just be one area surrounded by a higher density. And I think some of the restraints on the property itself is going to kind of maybe mitigate some of the concerns we have. But, you know, I'm in support of doing this just because of kind of the surrounding areas are all going to be higher density. You're going to see other lots with smaller, so it's just, that's where I'm at.
Okay, so anyone else? Yes, Mr. Pittsford?
Yeah, when I look at this, it's a good distance from Bloomfield Road. And there's nothing about this that suggests that it's remotely appropriate for high density or will be in the future. So I would tend to support the lower density there. Bloomfield Road is such a busy road. To think that you're going to be able to put high density there and accommodate transit, you're never really going to be able to do public transit in that area effectively, at least not in the foreseeable future. And this is, you have to hopscotch quite a bit to get to arterial roads. So I would not support high density and would therefore tend to support their request for low density.
What is the density?
Yeah,
It
what
could
is the
either
density?
be Res 1 or, wait, no, not Res 1.
LD is 0.34.
To keep it the same would be, so it's proposed higher,
CD.
which is HD. To keep it the same, equivalent would be CD. To go lower would be LD 0.34 or Res 1
It
acre.
has to be 1 acre because of septic, so,
I'm looking at that whole field of,
Yes.
in that's
Yes.
marked in dark gray for HD, and I think all of those are really problematic. So some of those lots are smaller
yes?
and should not be HD because they're, so, and then there's some lots like this one that's larger
Right.
and they're being farmed. So I don't, I think one is a good base point, but I just don't ever see how this would all come together as one high-density development. It just doesn't fit. It doesn't fit. The city may have said it fit, but I look at it and I don't see that it fits.
I don't even see how the city can suggest that it would fit because traffic-wise and infrastructure, trying to accommodate the infrastructure needed for anything other than, a pretty low density of development. And I don't mean like the LD classification. I was referring to just low density is ludicrous. It just exacerbates a traffic problem that already exists. Basswood did enough damage out there. We don't need to add to it.
Should it be agricultural?
No.
No, I would say I would go with the 1 acre, and then we could see what we need to do after that. I just,
Or should we leave it for another, because,
no, don't leave it because it becomes HD.
okay.
I have a question, I guess, is maybe to Commissioner Thomas's point. Should we be looking at that? Because my concern is just changing that one designation and the surrounding being able to kind of develop, differently. I don't want to call it spot zoning, but that's kind of the feel I get from it. So I'd be curious if the suggestion is to revisit that whole designation for that area.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we do Res 1 and consider the surrounding properties for Res 1 as well.
Do you mean the properties that are directly adjacent to
The ones that
this
are
one?
green on the map right now, the ones that are,
Although some of these I don't believe are 1 acre in lot.
right, right, but could we look at that and see what, we don't have enough information.
Let's change the 1 for now that's on the list and then come back.
I
to the-
agree.
Is that okay?
Yeah,
So some of those are smaller, so.
some of them are,
Let's take a look at them.
yeah.
The area between Christopher and is that Beech Tree Lane or something like that?
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Right, so just the consideration of everything in the green between Christopher Lane and Beech Tree for the Res 1?
Well, we have a 0.75 acre lot right here, and then there's these two smaller ones. So these are not 1 acre in size.
Okay, so then what's the next one down from Res 1?
LD, which is 0.34, but I see some that are 0.23 acre.
And
But maybe
that,
we need
that
a
one
0.75.
that looks like 3 parcels is one house, it looks like, that's spread over 3 parcels. So could we just go ahead and change the one address now and then take a look at the others?
Yes,
Is that okay?
What's the proposal for?
it's Res 1. Res 1.
Yeah.
There's no rural agricultural one? No? Yeah, no, but I mean, is this sufficient and
But if they
satisfying?
have 2 acres, they can do the farming, so
I know, I know.
that gives them that.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out, I think there's some businesses mixed in there too. I think that big
Yeah.
parcel in the southwest part is
Yeah.
an automotive or junkyard or some type of
Yeah, we
business.
have to look
Okay.
at all this.
Well, let's look at it, but let's change this to Res 1 for now. Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay.
You raised your hand.
Yeah, Dee raised her hand. Okay, we're moving on to, that was for West Allen, yes.
And we're
Yes.
going to take a look at, just as Mr. Pittsford pointed out, so it's the areas west of Christopher Lane, and then over to Beech Tree Lane that are.
I would ask that you take a look at that whole block that's HD.
Yes, me too.
Okay,
But
Yeah.
a little broader.
Sure.
Yeah. Which will, west is, but
no, I think it's fine. I think planning is trying to achieve the same goals of making sure that we don't add more nonconformity, so.
Okay, we're moving on to 7445 West State Road 45. And this is a request to remain agricultural. It has 2.12 acres, yes,
I
Julie?
move that we keep this ag.
Okay, I agree. All those in favor, raise their hands. Okay, great. And then we're moving down to 4895 South State Road 446. And it wants to go from CVR to limited business.
Did we do this one already? We might have done this one
This
already.
is, yeah, this is Damon Cappy, yes.
Skip it. We did
I
this.
mean, we did all those, yes.
Yes, I think we did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Apologies.
Okay, we move on to Prow Road, 3065, 3075, 3095, 3215, 3225, 3275, 3501, 3505, 3525, and 3555 North Prow Road.
So these all run, basically, this is the person who's making the request. They live here. They also serve on the HP board. I know that another member of the HP board has property within here as well. This request goes from up to this parcel here, all the way down to this parcel here. This is Bloomington High School North, and this is the city limits. So the request is to be RNH, and it's currently res. They are not seeking the HP overlay for any of these, although we do have the HP overlay for this area right here.
I don't understand why RNH.
I'm not sure either, although I think maybe in the description, there's something about historic community living in the description of RNH zoning. And what we, I think, targeted like areas like Steinsville and Harrodsburg and Smithville, those are the areas we've really put the RNH zoning over because there's sewer in those areas. You're allowed to have uses that are both residential and commercial on the same lot. We allow that intensification of use because of our access to sewer oftentimes. So yeah, I will say I'm not entirely clear why the request for this one to be RNH.
What are the current lot sizes there?
Give me a moment and I will pull one up for you.
They range. There's big and small.
So this is a 1.45 acre lot for reference.
1.45?
Mhm.
Well, can we do an RNH1? No? I mean, because it's 0.14, that,
That's if you're subdividing on sewer, I think. Are you looking at the, Jackie, could you maybe pull up a 2-pager for me for RNH zone?
Mr. Pittsford and then Mr. Enright Randolph.
Tron had his hand up first.
Mine's pretty simple. What issue are we trying to resolve? Are we trying to find a problem? I guess. That's kind of my take on this. I don't see what
Yeah,
this
right now
effect really will, or change, what will really provide.
Jackie has the 2-pager up, which
Okay,
kind
there
of
we go.
shows a little bit of like, it would be a change in the design standards. Right now, I think all of these would be conforming under the res zoning. And they would still be able to do agriculture if at least they meet the 2-acre lot size.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me to change it at this moment. I think it's something, if they wanted to do a mass rezone, maybe, I don't know, if Mr. Pittsford has
Yeah,
another suggestion.
I think this is I think this is a semantic distinction without a difference. I think they want the word neighborhood in the zoning that they have because they consider themselves a neighborhood and not a residential collection in the sense that you would have residential anywhere else in the county. So if we could create a category of historic residential form, I think they'd all be just happy as pigs in mud.
And it's a good insight.
So I don't want to approve anything based on semantics and a feel-good, so I say ignore this.
All those in favor of ignoring it? Okay, all right, it's unanimous. Then now we're moving on to page 11. We're booking along to 5443 South Leonard Springs Road. And this is a request to go from residential to agricultural.
And I want to add one at this point because I did do the research here. We have a section line that runs through here. Oh, Jackie stole it. I did ask her to steal it from me and I forgot.
It's not there. We have the same thing.
Okay.
Oh, okay,
So,
there it is.
this is the parcel in question on this sheet, and I would like to also add this one as well. I pulled the deeds for both of these properties. This is one lot of record with a section line that goes through it. This is also one lot of record, goes with the section line that goes through it. So the request is technically to make this one agriculture because it is going to be at least, what, 6.3. It's a 6-acre lot. It's over 6 acres. Yes, Julie.
There are other lots that have the same issue in this area, I believe.
Maybe.
Yes.
It's hard to see. It's hard to, because this one doesn't perfectly line up.
Right.
Neither does this one, and neither does this one. So yes, there is a section line that runs down through here.
Yep.
But these were the two that immediately stuck out to me because they very much like.
I know you all have 1,012 things going on, but is it possible for someone to go through and just look through the GIS map and check ownership? And if there's two parcels that's owned by the same person, the question is, are they zoned the same? And if not, why not? Right?
Right. So we did try to do that when we were doing this exercise, and we unfortunately had to use calculated area rather than the actual deed. So it's
Okay.
data. We're looking at
Yeah.
we're looking at
Yeah.
polygons,
Yeah.
and we're using our best data.
Right.
So I know that when Jackie was doing some changing of the map early in the process, we wanted to make lots conforming, but we can't open up every single one with it. I mean, yes, there's a deed. It's a process to pull the deed, read the deed, interpret the deed, and confirm if it's like one lot of record or not.
Well, I'm saying in GIS, you can see who owns the lot.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Mhm.
So if you see the same owner and they have two lots and they're connected, but one's zoned one way and one's zoned the other, I don't know why we couldn't make those two match. And I would love to treat them to some type E admins, but I think they're all because of that section line and they can't be brought together. But I know this area. I've looked at a lot of these in the GIS map. So I'm not asking you to look at deeds. I'm just saying if you go through the GIS and you see if there's the same owner, I think we need to be consistent about addressing all of this at once.
Jackie, we could try to do that, right?
I think on a neighborhood level or a region level, that is something that's possible. I know that whenever someone would call in and talk about this specific type of situation, I would spend a brief amount of time in looking around in the general area to see if there was, especially when there's a section line involved. But I don't know the capacity of the office to look at every parcel.
Oh, no. This is just for this neighborhood?
Sure.
Yeah, just
Yep.
this little enclave.
Sure.
Where that section line is,
Yep.
in fact. Yeah, and
Yep.
we've got parcels owned by the same person, zoned one way, then zoned the other because there's a section line, and that's not, I don't think that's appropriate. So,
Yep.
yeah, and then I would like y'all to come back to us and say, here's what we think it should all be zoned.
Do you want to go ahead and do these two right now?
I'm ambivalent.
I'd like it to be done when you get back to us. Okay, I don't know if everybody else feels the same way.
So let it be written, so let it be done.
So I just want to compliment the staff. It seems like every time we bring up an issue, you've already thought about it and researched it, and that's so reassuring to us. Thank you for being so proactive.
If we get a compliment planning and staff, I just want to say I love the use of the PLSS in your notes.
Yeah. Public Land Survey
System.
System.
What did we
Yes.
just agree to?
Where the staff is going to review the surrounding properties and make sure that we're as consistent as possible, and make sure that if the same owner,
And so what are we gonna make it consistent with?
with the same property, an adjacent property that the same owner might own, with the section line going through it.
In summary, there are certain spaces or places in the county where a property owner has two tax parcels and a section line divides them. And the way that the draft zoning map was created, some of those parcels got automatically rezoned to a district that split zones there into essentially single deeded lot.
Yeah.
And I think in the future, when we see these, it doesn't have to be right now, but in the future, when we see these groups of them, we can say, let's take a deeper dive and look at rezoning these. Because again, this is not, we're not carving anything in stone here. We're going to have a new set of rules and laws, statutes to work with, but that doesn't mean there can't be changes, and there
That's
will be
right.
changes. So,
That's right.
it's the finality of it all is not.
Yeah, so it won't be written in stone.
Yeah.
Mr. Pittsford.
Long as written.
But it'll be painted.
It'll be painted, but not in tempera. So we're going to move on to 7424 and 7450 South Walnut Street Pike.
So these lots currently, we have one that's zoned LB and the other one that was recently zoned LI.
Yes.
We get a lot of people interested in putting convenient storage on this lot because it does not and has not ever been able to get sewer to it even before the moratorium, because it was a lot of easements that would have had to been purchased. So they're currently requesting that these both, they're different zones right now. So one's considered LI, the other one is
The ones
the
with
one's limited
structures,
business. Yeah, the one with structures limited business. The one to the south, LI.
I'd like to.
And they're wanting it to be GB because it would make the one lot to the north with the convenience storage on it already, it would make it conforming under the ordinance, the new draft ordinance. That's the only zone that we are even considering convenience storage to be, which is going to be called self-storage, I think, in the future, is going to be the GP zone.
Well, I would like to only make that really conditional, that personal storage, because we have so much of it and it's gone in everywhere and we have more than we need. So I just don't think it should be something that they're able to do by right. But yes, Ms. Commissioner Thomas.
What is the current zone of 4724 South Walnut Street Pike?
Limited business.
It's the
4724 is currently zoned limited business.
okay, okay.
And
All
then
right.
I will say that maybe don't be surprised if you actually see convenience storage go on this lot to the south. They are racing the clock to get a full application in. They know it's a risk that they may not make it on time.
At 4750?
Correct.
But that's LI right now.
Correct. It was rezoned a while ago with the intent of it to be, I think, convenience storage. It doesn't have access to sewer out here.
Can we make it LB?
That is up to you. It would make it similar to what the other lot is adjacent.
Yeah. I would make a motion that both of these addresses be changed to LB for consistency's sake.
I agree. Yeah, all those in favor? Okay, it looks like it's unanimous. Okay, we're at a point now where we've gotten through the individual comments. I know we've done well. And I would like to take this opportunity to ask staff, how do you think it's going from your perspective?
Faster than I thought. It's faster than I thought.
Oh, good. That's because of your good work. Yeah.
I did a lot of research.
You sure
Well,
did.
the fact is that if I could sit and look at this spreadsheet and read through it and figure out what I thought and look at the map and come to these conclusions because your notes were so good, then that's helping this process.
Yes.
There's a few of these next ones that it's a single parcel to consider, and we've considered them in the past, so it could be I mean, we've still been continuing to get comments on them, so we're bringing them back. Clear Creek might be a little more tricky, but there are 1, 2, 3 in the packet that are pretty straightforward, like 1 to 2 lots that you're considering together.
I would ask that we move on to those quick ones because we'll feel like we're accomplishing something.
agree.
I have some questions about Clear Creek and I don't want to burden staff with it now, so I'd rather just send you all an email if I could,
Okay.
and then maybe that might help.
I did get the sewer map for that area.
Yep, okay.
Okay.
It's not related to sewer though.
Okay.
Thank you.
So if staff would be so kind as to guide us to the one that they think, 1 or 2 that they think we could accomplish, we'd be grateful.
So 5100 South Victor Pike.
What page?
Okay?
What page?
That's number 14
14
and 15
And I think
and 16. And
it's going to
Well,
drag.
it is different. It's still South Victor Pike, but it's different.
Okay, it's that Robertson.
Yeah, Trails at
Trails.
Robertson Farm.
Okay.
Oh, is that the, hold on.
5100 South Victor Pike is the gas
Gas
station.
station.
Oh, it's the gas station,
4691
sorry.
is
Thank
the-
you.
Okay.
Okay.
So the gas station is zoned LB. That's what they want to keep it. They have purchased a couple of lots to the north. This is a single lot here that they would like to request as LB, leave this one residential, and then create a split zoned lot with the intent of, doing a lot line shift of sorts. And I will say that in the PC admin meetings, we have twice before created some split zone lots between residential and business. So it is something that has been done to do split zone. I will also say that this area in general is, the comprehensive plan has it as Makua employment. So those are a couple of the main things I would say to consider when contemplating what to do if you would want to change these two areas from res to limited business, which is next to an interstate.
Yes, Commissioner Thomas?
I'm just going to say, this is something that requires a rezone in front of the Plan Commission. So I'm not in favor of changing the zoning here and now personally, but.
Mr. Morris?
Yeah, I agree with what Commissioner Thomas said. There's houses on these lots right now. So this is a business that has a history of enforcement cases that has now purchased adjacent land to expand presumably. So I think agreement with Commissioner Thomas that this needs to be a rezone request.
Yes. Mr. Enright Randolph?
Oh, I don't know, it's a tough one. We kind of boxed them in when they kind of sought for, allowable uses, this or that. So it looks like they're attempting to acquire property to maybe expand some of the uses there. And so, yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. I don't think, well, I'll get a majority, but I feel like it's a prime location for business use, and I hope we give it a fair chance if they do come here with an official rezone. And so I guess, and I shouldn't say fair chance, I think we all do give it a fair chance. I just feel like they're trying to take measures to, expand their operation. So that's all I have to say. I supported their request that was eventually denied last time.
Anyone else have questions or comments?
I would just say with the residents who live in that area, I think they would appreciate being notified before we rezone this to something else. So
No, we're not. We're going to move to keep the zoning the way it currently is.
Yep.
And then if they want to change it, they can, do a variance. Yeah. Okay, so all those in favor of keeping it the way it is? 1, 2, 3, 4, D, 5, okay?
it flashes on the screen. Whoop.
Okay, so that's done. Now, staff, what else would you like to do quickly?
4691.
4691 South Victor Pike. That's page 17 and 18. We might be able to get through Heritage Woods Road, too.
My attention is flagging.
Yes. I flagged at 6:15, so there you go.
So this one it went to the Plan Commission February 6th, 2024, and was tabled. The draft zone has it as CD. And, I'm going to swing over the comments here just briefly. I was going to try. There, let's see. So we've definitely got some dissatisfied and strongly dissatisfied. And some of those people commenting are that they would rather see it as residential. Some did not suggest a zone. And then we have some that are satisfied or strongly satisfied. And these are that they appreciate the CD zoning that it currently is. So I just wanted to throw out that there are definitely this is one of the ones with the most amount of comments from different individuals that came in. The only thing that got really pulled in here was maybe to change it to residential.
1 acre lots. I remember hearing that at the meetings. Right?
Well, 1 acre is what's required for.
Right.
And it's currently zoned for 1 acre lots, the RE1.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, okay.
And we have it a little more dense at the CD community development residential zone.
This property has so many environmental concerns. There are hundreds of people who filled out postcards. And then there are people who want to make money by being a developer, and I get it. I just don't think this is the right place. So I would support Res 1.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, there's a floodplain, a sinkhole, and power lines, right? So that's complicated.
So which ones are you recommending for
Well, it's one address now,
Yeah.
5691, that right there in the green box. It's a large parcel. Mr. Enright Randolph?
So yeah, I had that same issue there, Scott. But the res would technically be downzoning this
No? It's currently zoned.
as far as what the proposed.
Oh, yes, as far as what is in the draft.
Right.
It's currently zoned 1 acre. It's drafted for 0.21 acre, and then they're asking, some people are asking for it to go to res 1 acre.
Really don't know like what other shape or delivery they could give us, because I feel like I've seen this a 1,000 times, but I've supported it over and over and over. I feel that, or I just want to echo my comment earlier that we really need to look at things that could be shovel ready, where people do want to take a chance and invest in our community. The fact that we're discussing downzoning it based off of comments from what the proposed zoning is, which was put together by planning with a bunch of planners and experts, I feel isn't necessarily putting us in a position where people really want to take those investments, because there's a lot of unpredictability as far as if they wanted to do a higher density development. I'm not trying to rehash this petition by any means. I just really want to echo that comment that it's like there's opportunity here, and I think we should really consider what the most appropriate zoning is. And I don't think res is it, but again, that's just kind of my position. But also, I don't want to even kind of go against what planning is recommending in the draft zone either. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pittsford?
First of all, somebody needs to check on Gary Payne, because he went from strongly dissatisfied at the beginning to strongly satisfied at the end of this column. So I don't know what happened there, if that's a typo or what, but if you look at the first comment on this is from Gary Payne, strongly dissatisfied, and the last one, Gary Payne, strongly satisfied. So I don't know if that was 2 entries or
It
what.
was 2 entries. Sometimes people maybe had trouble filling out the survey. I'm not sure. They cancel each other.
I learned a long time ago, it's hard to kick against the goads, but you know, we finally got one right here. The majority of people commenting on this were satisfied or strongly satisfied, and we sit here talking about how we're going to undo the draft zoning. How many other instances do we have with that many people registering satisfied or strongly satisfied, and we're going, no, wait, we screwed that up, let's change that? Why are we doing this?
Are you finished?
I'm done, yeah, that's a question.
Commissioner Githens?
I'd like to know if there's sewer out to this area. If not, I don't think that we should be going to a higher density at all.
There was a letter, but
It's not,
But it's not in.
There's a will serve letter that's active, I think, for 1 more year.
Right, but it's not, they don't currently have the sewer. The other thing is
Yes,
that.
they have access to the sewer. They have a will serve
I
letter.
understand. I read that. I read through all of it. And I will point out, too, that Andy Walker commented here twice that he's strongly satisfied, and that we have builders and stuff out here that are saying that they want this. We saw hundreds of people come out and say they did not want this area developed. To say that because in this one instance, a few people more are wanting this, it's just difficult for me, especially given all the areas with flooding, the people that came out and talked about walking the Clear Creek Trail and other things that went along with this. We've heard this twice now, as commissioners, and I voted no both times. I've been out, I've visited the property a couple of times, and it just, I don't know, when we've got somebody who does development who's dissatisfied, I kind of look at what Tamby has to say here too. And I also see, yeah.
On those times that you voted no twice, what was the recommendation of Plan Commission? Was it for approval?
I honestly, I feel a commitment to people who are current homeowners. I think that when you buy your home, you ought to know whether or not it's protected in the future by what goes on in terms of the new processes that are put into place or new decisions that are made. I don't feel like we should flood people out who are current homeowners, and there was too much threat of that in my mind. So I feel an obligation to existing homeowners.
Mr. Enright Randolph and then Mr. Morris.
Mine's really quick. What is the minimum for what's being proposed on the draft for density? Edie, what's the minimum lot size?
It's currently, the status quo.
What's being proposed? So what was that?
0.21.
0.21. Well, hang on, that's what's being proposed in the draft proposed. Let me get to kind of where I was going. And what's the minimum with the res?
1 acre.
1 acre. So, I do agree that there is someone that's been very active through a lot of development in this Clear Creek area, and I was actually surprised to see a strongly dissatisfied and think in the statement saying it's too high density. But I think there could be middle ground, and that's really where my main point is if we could find that middle ground that gives that predictability. So if they can't achieve maybe exactly the density that we've seen through multiple proposals, maybe there is a middle ground where they still want to take the opportunity to invest in our community. Again, I'm not trying to rehash these things, but it's just upsetting, to me at least, that we've seen the opportunity to potentially build homes, and we haven't found any middle ground where it could work on both sides. And I don't think necessarily the 1 acre minimum's going to get us there. And I've always been a little indifferent about creating too much density in this area because it could have a big impact. But I do believe that there's probably an opportunity, and when we see PUDs and other things like that allow different types of minimums, we're still not accomplishing that. And this is just kind of my feelings on it, but we also seen some of these that had the support of planning. We've also sent some forward that didn't have the support of planning. But it just takes me right back to my main point. We need to look at the long term and try to provide options where there is predictability so we can get folks to invest in our community.
Okay, Colonel Ferris?
What's the middle ground, Tron?
What's the middle? I don't know. I mean, oh, see, that's just, but thanks for entertaining that conversation, Scott. I don't know what the middle ground, I'm not really here, but I think if we gave strong guidance, we might be able to achieve something. But if we move it to res, I think we just put them through another process where there's uncertainty, unknown, and they've already went through it. So why would they want to do that again? So, and we're not looking at, is there a middle zone that has a different minimum from?
It's an LD, has a 0.34.
0.34. So, but that could be a possibility. I just wanted to express my opinions on this because I've seen it so many times, and I really hope that we take all the opportunity we have to find middle ground for some developers that do want to do things in this community. I'm
Thank you.
done there.
Thank you, Mr. Enright Randolph. Mr. Morris?
Yeah, excuse me, to what others have said, we've talked about this numerous times in numerous meetings now. And I think, we've heard from hundreds of people that use the trail and live in the area that have expressed concerns. And I think, every time this has been discussed, it's landed back at 1 acre lot sizes. So I think to rezone this tonight or change this tonight to anything more dense than 1 acre lot size is, this is not the right avenue to do this, given how many people have spoken out against the more dense lot sizes. When I look at this list here, I see several realtors' names. So I see people that profit from the higher density. And I don't think that should be taken into account more than the neighbors and the trail users and the other people in the community. So I would not support anything higher density than 1 acre.
And I'm just surprised that on these list of comments, I don't see the comments of Dave and Patty Bush and Guy and Connie Loftman, because they were here at our public sessions and they spoke against this during our public sessions for the CDO. So I don't understand why their comments are omitted.
That's what our notes were for.
I think they may not have given a specific acreage. That may be,
okay,
because then, I don't know,
okay,
but I don't know.
Well, we've been here and in the room, and so we've heard it, and we know that they're there.
Yeah,
So
and let me just take a moment, if I might, a point of personal privilege. I am so tired of hearing about how builders are doing great things for the community and really want to help people, because they are out to make money. That is their job. This is capitalism. They are not here to do us any favors. They are here to build homes, great, but when they come before us and say, when I build a home, it's going to be $250,000 to $350,000, we can't hold them to that, and guess what? They never are. They're always a lot more. And this is before the inflation of the post-COVID era. This has been going on a long time. So please do not put people on a pedestal who say, I want to build affordable housing, because that's not necessarily their goal. They may want to build housing, which is great. That's great. But let's make sure it really is affordable. And anything on the market, because land is expensive, anything on the market is not necessarily going to be affordable. We cannot change land prices. We tried to do something to help Habitat. We actually did help Habitat, but we tried to do another project to help Habitat. We need to look at a residential TIF. I am concerned about this as well. I would like to look at pockets of cluster tiny home developments, truly affordable. So that's the kind of thing I think we need to do. I'm not here to help somebody make money. I am here to look out for what's best for Monroe County, not now, not 10 years from now, but both of those, but also 20 and 50 years and 100 years from now. And the flooding in that area is horrible. It is horrible. And we need to get a handle on it before we do anything else.
I would like to reiterate one of my ongoing concerns, if you don't mind, and this comes from my years in the mortgage banking industry and in the Development and Redevelopment Commission in St. Joe County when I served there for a little bit of time when I was in college, and just from my life experience, we have a lot of homeowner association failure in Monroe County, and we have a lot of big ticket items that aren't taken care of in the construction phase that have to be maintained by people who are not really qualified to maintain them. Complex systems like drainage in a floodplain, around sinkholes, and there's upstream and downstream consequences, and frequently those homeowner association fees are not calculated in to what might be what somebody perceives is an affordable house payment. It's because it's yet one other way to hide a cost of the housing. And I just think that on this property in particular, we put at risk the treasure of the people who are initially able to invest, but unable to keep the property when big problems arise and they find themselves with an assessment that could jeopardize their title to the property. And I'm concerned about that because I've been, as a good citizen and a good neighbor around Monroe County, I've been involved in homeowner association disputes and failures and assessments. And, it's very concerning to me because I think that if somebody has, especially on the affordable spectrum, they're putting their eggs into a basket that they trust us to make sure that they don't lose or break those eggs. And I think that when we're targeting, especially at this price point, it takes even further due diligence from us. And that's just a personal point of view. I don't know if others have it, but on this particular property, it concerns me. So I just want to say that.
Good point.
So I think, is there a motion to keep it at Res 1? If there is, how many people are in favor? And D. Owens, we can't see you. Okay, so that keeps it at Res 1. Okay. Now we have to decide if we want to hear Heritage Woods Road or Worms Way lots 1 and 2.
I think we want to do Heritage Woods Road if we have time, because I think the solution may be pretty easy.
Okay.
I think we should adjourn. I thought we were going to try to limit the time because we have multiple meetings, and I feel like we're pushing past the time of effectiveness.
Well,
I'm good with that.
yes, I'm always.
I move adjourn.
Okay, it's unanimous. I think there's no objection to that.